Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 295th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me this evening on the call so far, we have Dave the Hater Lowback and Andy Patterson. Welcome to everybody listening in on the chat, or if you're listening back on iTunes or YouTube or wherever. A very warm welcome from us all. I know I say this every week, but there was loads going on this past week, and there's loads as well to occupy the eyeballs of the discerning boxing fan next week as well. Plenty of high-quality action to preview. We've got Belly of the Weeks to sift through and the guests lined up. A top panel is with us as well, expecting rapping Rob Kelly. The Guru, Tommy Allen, said he was going to come on. Whether he will or not, we don't know. Stick with us anyway, everybody, for the next couple of hours if you can. We shall begin this week in Nebraska, where only one man is king. That's Terence Bud Crawford. 12th round knockout win over Jose Benavidez Jr., Andy. Benavidez did a good job of ducking and dodging the punches at the weigh-in. A bit of a scuffle there. Fair play to him. He missed Bud's big swing. I always think, Andy, I'm going off on a tangent here as usual, but at the weigh-in, you see if Bud had connected with him and opened up a cut or something, you know, it would have been a whole heap of trouble. I seem to remember Riddick Bowe, Larry Donald, was it back in the day when Bowe laid a two-punch combination on him at a press conference, and one of these days someone's going to get hurt and the fight's going to be cancelled.
Yeah, Crawford's just got that mean streak in him, isn't he? Just who he is, I suppose. A lot of shit was getting spoke about, and he's just. I thought like maybe the first couple of rounds and stuff, he was having a wee bit of problems with him, especially speaking of with the length of Benavidez and stuff. But I just thought, bit by bit, he got his foot on the outside there. He was kind of working the body, good jabs and stuff like that. And in the end, he just what a shot, man! I mean, you could see as well. You could see Benavidez at times when he was taking these punches, shrugging his shoulders, opening up his guard, and that. And say, "Is that what you got?" And then literally, like he did it in the 12th round, did it and then 5 seconds later, takes that monster right uppercut, and that. What a shot it was! Fantastic shot. Great for it. Well, Boggs for getting up as well, but in the end, absolutely emphatic finish. Closed the deal. Any bullshit that was said before the fight, any incidents and stuff like that, it's now, in my opinion, ended. That's where you want it to be done, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I think, like you say, Andy, it was the length and of Benavidez, the height as well, was giving him a few issues, and he was tagging the body Benavidez. This was the type of fight that Crawford possibly needed. Although, the old spectre will rear its head again. We have a question coming in. I'll find it in a minute from Kieran Nelson. But what's Crawford going to do next? Andy's on the wrong side of the divide as well as, as so much as opponents. And is Benavidez, I suppose, even coming off a long layoff, he'd beaten that Rocha guy. Is this the best they can sort of put up for him at the moment?
Yeah, I think they maybe go with Lithuanian at some point. I know he's quite highly ranked. A couple of other names I've been looking at. There's
Kavalauskis, yeah?
Yeah, Kavalauskis. There's another one, I think it was like Clayton, his name is, and there's another one's Veron and stuff like that. People I don't know who they are. Obviously Jeff Horn is still kicking about, but he's fighting Mundine soon, I'm sure. The Spanish boy, I think he's still fighting Frankie Gavin at some point as well. So he's really kind of struggling for opposition. We said that a couple of weeks back before the fight. Needs a breakout opponent name-wise. So you would hope maybe if it can happen, Spence cross rivalry, but it's not. Obviously, we can't see it happen. Garcia with that the Bob Arm history, probably not going to happen either. Maybe Khan, for example. I mean, I know he's kind of like looking to get away from the Brook fight. In all honesty, he's wanting. He's going to get paid wherever he goes, I suppose. Crawford's a decent enough fight for him, I suppose. He's still hanging about for Pacquiao, but he's now signed by Al Heyman, I believe. So that's a fight could actually happen if he can still be Heyman. But he is kind of struggling for options actually, to be honest, Crawford. But he's at some point, I think the shit needs to be put aside. If the money was there, I suppose, and the shit could be put aside, I think these fights could be made with Spence and the likes of Garcia. But I still think the money's there.
Apparently, ESPN did phenomenal ratings again last night with boxing. You'd think that Heyman and them would want a piece of that. I mean, what's Spence got to go for now? I mean, what's he doing?
They're still talking about him fighting Garcia, aren't they?
Yeah, they're still talking about Garcia. Yeah, Campbell's still kind of hoping that Garcia's going to vacate.
I don't know.
People close to the industry that believe that fight's going to happen. Garcia against Spence. But, talk if it's going to happen, talks have been very quiet and stuff like that.
Yeah, I suppose that's the best way to do it. Mark Pritchard says in the chat, Bud was superb. Hey, to Dave, I agree. Terence Crawford is a talented fighter, very talented. He's aggressive. He gets rid of people. He has that mean streak out of the ring. I'm not doubting any of that, but he needs a breakout name. You have to put his achievements so far into context. he obviously unified the division, but he took 2 of the belts off Julius Ndongo. Not blaming Crawford for this whatsoever, but a lot of his, those type of wins are maybe low-hanging fruit. I know I say this a lot, and I'm not disparaging Crawford whatsoever. I think he has the ability, and I would probably slightly favour Spence, but if they were to fight, it'd be an excellent fight, and Crawford is a phenomenal fighter. He needs the big name, Dave. Kieran Nelson said, the commentary last night were continually calling Crawford the best in the world when he's fought absolutely nobody, says Kieran. Now, people did take issue with this on Twitter, and they said, oh, he hasn't fought nobodies, whatever. Maybe Kieran's language was a bit strong, but he said, is Top Rank's propaganda worse than Sky's, Dave?
They were definitely riding the Top Rank train last night. I think Tessitore was like, Hall of Fame promoter Bob Arum, like going out of his way to suck off Top Rank. I can't put on as worse than Sky. I mean, Sky has been successfully doing that for like 5 years now. So I'm going to say, hype aside, it's silly to call to say Terrence Crawford has beaten nobody. He's beaten some good names, but you're right. He needs the breakout big name, and it is time that Spence fight. We start very, very seriously talking about that Spence fight getting made and happening. I would say, I was even reluctant to say let's make it next after he beat the Aussie guy. What's his name?
Jeff Horn.
Yeah, Jeff Horn. I was reluctant to say let's not rush into Spence yet because we still need to see him a few more times at welterweight. I'm going to say it now. I think it is time we go for that fight. Crawford, I think he's probably about as good as he's going to get at welterweight. The power might not be as devastating as it was at lower weights, but he got the job done, and a lot of that was body work. The commitment to the body was phenomenal. When he was having some problems early on, I gave Benavidez 2 of the first 4. I thought he had good timing. He had surprising hand speed. He had good length. He had a decent jab. But Crawford outworked him, and the body work was huge in terms of limiting Benavidez' output later in the fight. She really appeared to tire quickly after the combinations of the body started. And just winning rounds because Benavidez was landing some good shots, had some good straight punches down the middle. And he actually out-countered Crawford on 1 or 2 exchanges early in the fight. I thought he landed some of the cleaner work when they would get in those brief skirmishes, those brief flurries with each other. And I think he knocked Crawford off balance. Actually, it was a low blow that it appeared to actually bother Crawford. I think in the 4th round or so. It showed that Crawford had some vulnerabilities, and we certainly didn't see that against Jeff Horn. I think it's hard to rate Benavidez as a win because like the guy has been obviously had his knee destroyed by a bullet. There's about like one of the worst places to get hit with a bullet, aside from the head, but like. That's terrible for his career.
What are you going on about?
I'm trying to place Benavidez as far as the quality of the win, and I think it is a quality win. He's still a good fighter, even though he is on possibly one leg. I'm ready to see the Spence fight, and despite some people's analysis, including Gabe, who just joined us, said that Benavidez was going to whoop him. Actually, Adam Abramowitz at SN Boxing, former guest of the pod from time to time, he said that Crawford's performance wasn't all that. I thought it was pretty good, honestly. I'm not expecting some sort of perfection every time out, especially when he's the kind of guy who is mean, is going to go to lay hurt on the guy. He's not a Floyd. He's not a Sweet Pea who's going to try to just not get hit. I think he could do that if that was his goal. I'm not really sure. His style has never been that. So I think he's there to lay hurt on the guy, and that's what he's going to do, and that's what he did. Although I don't think he would have gotten the stoppage if it weren't for Benavidez actually trying to win all the way through. And I give Benavidez big props for that. Like, he's got balls. He went out in the 12th round knowing he needed something big, and he went for it and got iced. in really nice fashion with that uppercut. That was a beautiful knockdown. You could argue about the stoppage itself. Maybe the ref should have waited for a few more blows, but I mean, I think he was done. So I'm not really complaining about it.
You like to see people battered, don't you?
I do, yeah. So yeah, I think good stuff from Crawford. I'm not gonna like really criticize his performance.
No criticism from the hater. Andy, did you want to add something in there?
No, mate, that's just sort of, I didn't mute my mic there, sorry.
Oh, no problem at all.
I'll tell you, I was going to add, actually, I just noticed there an article in Boxing Scene. Bob Arms says that he is open to making in the Crawford-Spence fight. Probably get it pay-per-view across 2 platforms, Showtime and ESPN, so nothing can go wrong with talks here, guys.
No chance it'll happen anytime soon, Andy. The big fights always marinate. I know we hate that word and everything, but there's no way they're going to throw them in anytime soon. This is going to be another year at least, 18 months, maybe even 2 years. This is going to brew and brew.
I would not be surprised if Heyman would allow Sean Porter to fight Crawford first out of anybody in his stable. Because I don't know if his dad seems to be complaining about, some of the treatment or whatever and that, or just like lack of fights maybe or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, what, you're going to have a round robin with Porter and Garcia all the time? Vargas still mooching about. He's had a draw. Pacquiao, Thurman. Sometime, not one time.
You can't count Thurman at the moment. We don't know what he's got left. Does he even want to fight? When's he going to fight next? I'm taking him out of the equation.
I think we can just okay. Put it this way: was he like fantastic before he's like long layoff? No, he was a good fighter.
Yeah, he was good, very good. Yeah.
Don't expect him to come back after what, 2 years now? Is it? To be,
I think
anything better. I mean, he's come off surgery as well, so he's got married. He's been getting just baked. He's not every other night, probably, right? So he's not going to be coming back as the same fighter, is he? Come on,
I doubt it. But I think his style is
in the same breath as well here.
His style would be interesting problems for Crawford. That kind of movement, he's constantly moving, really, and I don't think we've seen Crawford in with a guy that dynamic. Honestly, you're probably right, though. He does not come back as quite the fighter he was.
Well, there's no point in waiting for a fight anyway, because we know Spence isn't going to be mooching about at 147 for much longer. Crawford, we all know, needs that big name, that big signifying fight, just to validate him. But no, I agree with Steve. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but that's going to be a shame, because I think the next 18 months to 2 years, we're going to have to see maybe Spence forced to move up.
Mm-hmm. Right, we'll talk about the undercard shortly. Let's bring in Gabe now. The chat are going absolutely mad. They want to hear Gabe's opinions. Gabe, we're talking Crawford against Jose Benavidez Jr. Benavidez did a decent job riling up Crawford at the weigh-in. He did okay for the early rounds, but he paid the price, the heavy, heavy price in the final round. It was an excellent finish from Crawford, Gabe.
Yeah, it sure as hell was. At that last little bit, right before he got nailed with that uppercut, he was throwing an uppercut at the last second as well. And he was the guy that missed this time, got nailed, put down. Great shot right on the button. I really have nothing to complain about from the early rounds of the fight. He kind of did what I expected him to do, which was to try to control the center of the ring. And, because I've watched quite a bit of Benavidez. I like both him and David Benavidez' older brother, former super middleweight champion. I like both guys. So for me, to see the success in the early rounds was good. I was like, yeah, it's just going okay. And then he just started posing. He started standing there, flat-footed, putting his hands up, and anybody could see from the start of the fight that he, if he chose to do that Crawford was going to put a bunch of punches together, and that's exactly what he did. So I thought the other rounds were good. I just don't know that he was conditioned well enough for the fight, to be honest with you. Going back to the issues with his leg and stuff, which he noted in the post-fight interview, I wonder if that's got something to do with it, because he just looked like he got really tired in the middle rounds. I thought his size would help him out a little bit more. I think it was the third round, and he landed a really great combination, third or maybe fourth round. A left-right combination. I mean, they were good, hard, clean shots that landed on Crawford, and it didn't fade at all. So that kind of caught me off guard. I thought if he was able to land some good hard punches, that he could get Crawford in a little bit of trouble, because he's naturally the bigger guy. But I mean, it just didn't happen. And it was early rounds were good, and as the fight grew on, it just kind of stayed the same. But I got to give Benavidez credit as well, because he did hang in there. He kept fighting, and despite the long breaks, which I think was because he was tired, and some of the posing and stuff that he did, I thought he stayed in the fight, and he kept landing punches. Really, I mean, not a lot, not quantity, and they certainly weren't powerful enough to hurt Crawford, as we saw. But he was still landing punches. He landed, to me, a lot more punches than I've seen anybody else land on Crawford. So I thought it was good, And then Crawford showed the difference in levels there at the end. I mean, there was nothing that he could do to change up the way the fight was going, because if there was, I think he would have done something different. He couldn't lure Crawford into a firefight, and his power didn't have the effect he thought it would have. And so that's kind of how it played out.
Dave, do you want to add something in there?
Just as far as getting tired, yes, Gabe, it certainly could have come from just being not conditioned and not active. Also, the knee may have played a factor, but you can't discount the combinations Crawford was landing to the body. I think definitely slowed him down.
For sure, absolutely. I don't think anybody's really pushed the pace against him before, because I think from what I remember and watching the fights too, he's taken body punches well, or it looks like he is, but nobody's ever really pushed the pace either, like Crawford started doing with his movement and stuff. And so I think you're absolutely correct, and I think the pace that Crawford pushed on him helped a lot. Like I said, I can't remember anything in the last few years, going back to 2014 maybe. So in the last 4 years, of course, he had the long layoff. But in the last 4 years or so that I've watched, I recall him actually having somebody go at a pace quite like that.
Dave, did you see anything on the undercard? Shakur Stevenson knocked out VRL Simeon in a round, which was a good win. Actually, he got the vacant WBC Continental Americas title as well, which is always a bonus. There was some female action. Mike Alvarado was in action as well. Anything interesting?
I didn't see Always High Mike. I did see what little there was to see of Stevenson's fight. I mean, that was just an obliteration. And this is one of the things that I was worried about. Well, I'm not worried about, but that I thought that Mick Conlon was sort of not quite catching up the way Shakur Stevenson is with the power at pro level. And Shakur seems to be adapting to the pros better than Mick so far. We'll have to see how that goes. But at this point, this is why this kind of knockout, this kind of ability to punch is why I'm going to favor Shakur at this time if they fight.
That's about Shakur, Gabriel.
Yeah, I thought that he looked really good for as short as the fight was. I kind of get bored with his fights to some extent, because it seems like they've all for the most part gone on for a little while, and he's kind of slow to get started. And then once he kicks it into gear, he does pretty much as he pleases. So I was glad to see him come out and be aggressive and go for the fucking knockout, because I don't know, like I said, normally he gets on my nerves a little bit because he seems to be too tentative early. So I was glad to see that too.
Okay, Andy, you're the main man. We can go in different directions here. We can go Bakole, we can go Ritson, we can go Tete. Which one is getting the blood boiling?
I've not really got anything blood boiling. Well, if you want me to boil my blood in that, we could discuss Shishkin against Mohammadi, which was pretty much disgusting. I mean, it was it was an emphatic knockout, but what the fuck was the referee doing there? Or in fact, even what was the corner no doing? I mean, Christ, he should be up there, pulling that guy out. I think it was after the second knockdown. He was all over the place. And then in the end, I think it was another straight right hand. The guy, Shishkin, couldn't miss with the jab right hand. Well, mainly the right cross anyway. But it was a savage ending. Iced, head bouncing off the canvas and stuff. We're talking off air now. I mean, he was iced back to back between Kovalev and Gvozdyk and that. He's always been, a tough fighter. Almost awkward to fight in that, but that surely is going to be the end of him at any sort of kind of world level. And that was a emphatic knockout, but poor call, mainly from the corner, but especially for the referee. And what can we say? Tete against Leon as well. The Russian, he tried his best, I suppose, but Tete, he just, He does what he does, Steve. Puts you to sleep.
He puts you to sleep one way or the other. Either ices you or grabs on for dear life.
If you want to put him on a scale of 1 to 10, he can either be 10 or he can be fucking 1. There's nothing in between there. That's just honest truth. And Pfeiffer against Tete and that, it was a bit of clinch fest though, Steve, wasn't it?
Disgusting robbery, my man. Pfeiffer, man. I want justice. I want that an investigation.
I just thought Tete maybe just shaded it.
Yeah,
It was
he did.
horrible fight to score. Horrible fight to score. But it was, to be honest, the two fights were pretty poor, in all honesty.
I have a question for you, Andy, from Sean Glover, so don't get running off. What I will say to the listeners is the fight Andy was referring to straight off was on the Russian undercard World Boxing Super Series. This wasn't part of the Super Series, but it was Vladimir Shishkin, who's 7-0 against Najib Mohammadi. And Mohammadi, yeah, he's been iced, he's been battered, he's had a bit of everything. He's too brave for his own good. He had a chance of getting out to there halfway through the fight, and he didn't take it. Fair play to him, the guy's got balls, but he's going to be ending up in a pretty bad situation if someone doesn't give Najib Mohammadi a bit of help. He's 40-6 now. Tell me about this, Andy. This is from Sean Glover. He smells bullshit when it comes to Zolani Tete's amateur record, and I agree with him. He said, are there any thoughts on Tete's amateur record? He claims to have had over 400 fights as an amateur, losing only 3. Seems like a bit of a stretch, seeing as there isn't any proofs. He only turned pro at 18.
And one was his brother, apparently.
Oh, is that right? Well, I was thinking it was on the wooden boards of Tanzania or something.
I remember reading somewhere that he's one of those 3 losses was apparently his fucking brother in some sort of provincial final and that. But honest to Christ, no, I mean, what can you do? I mean, he seems to have all the physical tools. It's just like his jab. You got to give him his jab last night was double, tripled. Sometimes it was absolutely fantastic. You could actually hear the power in his shots, but as you say, unless he can actually kind of really get hurt your opponent and really kind of back up, he just seems to kind of do enough to win the fight, and it's just sometimes awful to watch, So, no, I mean, obviously, I'll tell you what I did notice is that I think if he does end up meeting Inoue in the final, I think it happens anyway, but he doesn't really offer much up to the body. So, what I'm saying is Tete kind of covers it up pretty well. So you really kind of really got to attack the head. If he can take that off centre or move to the side or take a couple of steps back and that, you're going to miss him. But sometimes he will take shots. The Russian did land a few last night, but he's just not got the power. I think if Inoue can actually time him, I don't think Inoue will actually have a lot of success with Tete to the body, but the right hand upstairs, if he's quick enough, could cause Tete major problems.
Am I right in saying, Andy, in the past, Inoue's had the puncher's curse, a few hand problems?
Yep. When is it? I'm trying to remember now when it was.
The reason I say that, Andy, is because I'm thinking to myself, spidery character like Tete, all skin and bone, tall. You could see gloves bashing off gloves, off heads, off hips. You know what I mean?
Hips and elbows and stuff like that. Yeah, elbows, it's possible. Without doubt, yeah. I mean, I seen that could happen to any fighter, I suppose, isn't it?
Exactly. Hey, to Dave, anything from the World Boxing Super Series? Zolani Tete progresses with a unanimous decision win over Mikhail Aloyan. Tete faces Ryan Burnett now. No, Ryan Burnett has to beat Nonito Donaire first. We expect him to, Dave. I'm going ahead of myself there. Andrew Tete defeated Ruslan Pfeiffer fairly over 12 rounds. Anything, Dave, that you saw in this card?
I didn't see it, but I did hear that the Tete fight was challenging to score, and that some people on Twitter were actually saying that Avilo was dominating. Like, what? That's not what I heard from the people I trust, as far as the guy was getting his head rocked back with the double, triple jab.
Yeah, I don't think there was any domination either way. I wouldn't say Tete was dominating. I can't really see where those guys were coming from. They have been nominated for Bellew of the Week, but Aloyan was doing pretty well, considering he's only like 4-0, whatever, Andy. But I wouldn't say Tete was dominating. There was room within the scorecards to say, well, I could see this round or that way and go into Aloyan.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I just think if the Russians' punches had a wee bit more snap, a wee bit more kind of pop, making Tete's a big guy for the weight, but he was so he's giving up size, giving up reach, giving up weight, Aloyan, right? But he was still getting in there. He was still kind of hooking in. He was kind of trying to bob and weave, good jabs. He was getting a few right hand, a few shots over the top. He was causing Tete a few problems, but I just think he just didn't have that dig to really get the respect and really command that real attention for the judges.
Yeah, Sleep99 in the chat says he hasn't been impressed with Tete in his last couple of outings. We're going to be ringing up our guest very shortly. Tete moves on. Fair play to him. Jason Chukwu is in the chat, everybody. Alert, Jason Chukwu is in the chat. Gabe.
Do you see what you're saying here? Everyone from
What's he
Scotland
saying?
says Bakole was Jesus and Allah all in one. I do not recall. I only recall one person saying that, by the way, and it was not the all of Scotland. Chuck Woo's
Right.
chat. Let's get on here.
Chuck Woo's chat. Come on, Chuck Woo. Come on if you want. We'll have you on. Gabe, we've got you, which is always a bonus. Anything on this World Boxing Super Series card? You could have picked it up on their live Facebook stream, which actually worked pretty well for the most part, Gabe.
I started the Tete fight. I haven't got all the way done with it, and it seems like it's pretty.
Don't bother.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying I wouldn't bother, Gabe, to be honest.
Yeah, well, that's why I've got halfway through it. I paused it, grabbed some lunch real quick. I figure I'll finish it later, because I do like the setup and the idea of the World Boxing Super Series on all levels. I don't know that I would have done it again on Cruiserweight, but I think it's. I just enjoy the fact that whenever we get these guys in, maybe despite maybe some close fights that may come across here or there, we get to the end of it and there's something solid there. We have somebody that has a true claim, a true stake at the top of a division. And so I get excited about them. So even if the fights aren't really great, I'm excited to, maybe not so much for this set of fights, but for the next round, whatever happens next. And, anytime we get to see Inoue over here in the States is good to me, because I really enjoy watching that kid fight. And so, kind of keeping tabs on how everything's going is fun to me. So I haven't finished yet, but I'll go through the whole card.
Gabe Lewis there, everybody. The Texas Tornado. Andy Patterson's with us as well. Hey to Dave Lowback. Don't forget to hit thumbs up in the chat if you're listening. Hit thumbs up. Now running around the streets of Wexford, no doubt. Rapping Rob Kelly. Where do we find you currently, Rob? What's your location?
I'm in the doghouse at the moment, and that's not metaphorical. That's literal.
In the literal dog. You in the Nuthouse as well, Rob? You in the Nuthouse?
In the doghouse and the Nuthouse at the same time, concurrently.
Right, listen, Rob, we're talking World Boxing Super Series. We've also been talking about Crawford. You can take your pick.
I think I've only actually caught the results of the Super Series. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, so I was at a party last night, and I didn't get a chance today to fully get caught up. So I watched Crawford when I got up straight away this morning. Didn't turn on Twitter, nothing. Didn't look for the result. Just got up, saw Benavidez, Crawford full. Thank the Lord that I got the YouTube version that where the ESPN commentary just disappeared after 2 rounds, and it was no commentary, because that's making me want HBO to come back already. That is absolutely woeful. That Joe Tessitore, absolute poison.
For me, it's Mark Kriegel that is.
Kriegel. Yeah, Kriegel.
You hear him last night. He says talking about Benavidez and David Benavidez. He says, I wouldn't have known many fathers who have sired two sons who would be world champions. Right? Does he actually even know boxing? Does he know about say the Klitschko brothers, for example?
But yeah, what a prat. But anyway, that was a kind of a one negative on a good night for me. Like everyone knows, I'm a big fan of Crawford. I thought he needed a stoppage last night to kind of keep his momentum going in this neck for neck. Who's the best pound for pound number one? Him or Lomachenko? I'm not mad at anyone that has either of them in either order. To me, there's very little between the two of them, and it's hard to kind of talk about one without talking about the other, if that makes sense. So off resume, I think Crawford and Lomachenko are very hard to separate at this point. I'd probably give the edge to Lomachenko on pure boxing ability, but Crawford is great. Like mean streak to him, as we've commented about on the pod before. Really good variation on his punches. Can fight at range. Brilliant at fighting on the inside. Obviously, he's really good. It's kind of spoke about the depth that he switches between southpaw and orthodox. I think he fights better as a southpaw, especially against bigger opponents. And the way he was picking his shots last night to the body, some of the shots he was just the intelligence of his combinations. One punch downstairs, one over the top, one on the inside, and he went for the finish too. He wasn't happy. He was clearly winning the fight. Even though Benavidez said afterwards that he thought he was ahead on the scorecards when he got knocked out. But clearly winning the fight. Benavidez had a couple of good rounds. Tall, rangy opponent, caused him somewhat a problem. But I still, as much as I love watching Crawford, and he's probably my favorite fighter to watch at the moment, I still don't think I still don't think he can beat Spence. I think Spence is just too big for him. And I don't. I have a funny feeling we're not going to see that fight happen. I think Spence is going to make a venture up to 154 because he is huge for a welterweight, like huge. And really, I think Crawford's best weight is probably 140. But still, at that, he's a tough guy, mean finisher, and yeah, he wasn't there to play. You can push him at the weigh-in, he's going to swing on you, and he did his talking in the ring. So I was really, really happy to watch that fight. Good fight.
Excellent stuff, Rob. Thanks very much. Joining us on the call now, we have our first guest of the evening. Delighted to welcome the Commonwealth Super Lightweight female champion, Nina Bradley. How are you, Nina?
I'm good, thank you.
Excellent stuff. We're just talking about Terence Crawford there. We also saw a bit of World Boxing Super Series last night. Martin Bakole was on Channel 5 and Lewis Ritson was on Sky. Did you manage to catch anything at all, Nina?
I saw the Ritson one. Yeah, I saw that one. That was all I caught last night. I've had a bad weekend. I've caught up with flu, so you've been at the minute.
Laid down a little bit then. What did you think of Ritson? Obviously, it was a bit of an upset of sorts. You know, Patera wasn't really brought over to win the title, was he?
No. To be fair, I was shocked myself watching it. Like you say, there was a big upset there, but like I always tell people, it's boxing. And sometimes that's what happens. And I think, you know, whether Ritson, you know, did his game plan go wrong, or you know, did something go wrong in the fight? But yeah, big upset there, I think.
Definitely is. I mean, I'm sure Ritson would have been nervous going in front of all those people. I mean, you yourself won the vacant Commonwealth title in the King Power Stadium there in September against Farish Mashori, who was undefeated as well at the time. What were the nerves like going in, Nina? What did you feel like going in for the biggest fight of your career?
I agree. You know, nerves-wise, like it could have had a big effect on Ritson. For me, I felt calm in the changing rooms. And coming down and hearing my music and stuff, I just remember I felt different, like just totally different from when I've gone into any other fight. I felt quite emotional, but it was the nerves, and a part of me was worrying, like, oh God, I'm letting the moment get to me here. And I'd probably say it took me a good 2 to 3 rounds to settle myself down and start, you know, controlling the fight. But yeah, your nerves have played a massive part, and especially when you're on that level of she's unbeaten, she don't want to lose, I'm unbeaten, I don't want to lose, and there's a big title on the line. It was it was a big test for me, but I think I handled it well. But there's little things that I know I'll do better next time.
Because you were headlining that card, weren't you, Nina?
We was. There was another title fight on, and it got changed last minute. It was Kyle Hayward's. His opponent had pulled out, so it got changed. So I did end up fighting, I think it was 6 in the end. So again, I try and get Carl not to put me on first, not to put me on last. I know there's going to be a time where, you know, you may have to headline a show, but I tend to try and get him to not make me that first fight and not make me that last fight, because I'll be honest, I struggle with my nerves. I struggle with them.
Yeah, it's completely understandable. Obviously, Carl, you were mentioning there is Carl Greaves. What's it like working with Carl?
Oh, he's great. It's just like being in the gym with my mate. We have a laugh. He makes you feel calm, collected. You know, obviously, when he needs to, he puts the pressure on, and you know, he tells you you need to pick it up. But he's just so easy to get along with, and you just know he's real. So I never feel like at the minute people are like, what's next on the card? You know, I'm leaving it in Carl's hands, and if he turns around and says this is a good fight, it's a good fight, and I know he's not going to put me out of my water, and he's not going to put me in any danger. You know, he's just a great lad. I'm happy that I've got him under.
Yeah. I'm just looking at your record, Nina. 6-0, no knockouts yet. Cagey opponents, working towards points. What's the story?
I mean, a couple of them have been close. you know, like the last fight, I think there was a couple of rounds where we thought we had a, you know, your 2 minutes run out quite quick when you're in there. It don't feel like it, but they tend to run out quite quick. I see myself as quite a heavy hitter, but I think I need to work on that, giving myself a bit more distance. I tend to spoil my work, and which I'm probably losing a bit of power there, but I'm happy to have the rounds in. It's, you know, for me, going all the way and having the rounds, it's better. There's more experience there, because when these big fights do come up and these girls are better, you know I can go that distance with pressure. You know, the girl who I fought for the Commonwealth, she won a mug. She came over to win. She was a tough girl, and I'll give it to her. She took some blows in that fight, and yeah, she backed off, but she kept coming, and she didn't want to stop. She didn't want to give up, and you know I respect her for that, because that's the type of fighter I am as well. Like, I'm not just going to bail out, you know, because you've whacked me hard. I'm going to try and stay in there as long as I can.
Mm-hmm. Just to remind our listeners, we've got Nina Bradley on the call. She's undefeated female Commonwealth champion at Nina Boom 29 over on Twitter. Also Instagram, team_boom_boom. Have I got that right, Nina?
Yeah, it's Team Boom Boom. Yeah, that's right.
Go and follow Nina, everybody. We won't keep you for much longer, Nina. We do thank you for joining us. You mentioned there obviously fights in the future. We're building towards bigger opportunities. It was the inaugural Commonwealth title that you went for. I mean, what's in the future? Do you think Carl's going to put you in for?
At the minute, we're waiting for confirmation. Hopefully tomorrow. We're looking. There's a fight that could be arranged in Germany. That's with one of the girls who's in the top 10. So we're just waiting to hear on that. If that comes through, then that will obviously be the next step. I believe that's the 1st of December. Whether it be for a title or just an 8-rounder, I'm not sure. That's obviously what's the talks are about. From there, whether it be a defence, world title, European, whatever it is, I'm happy to take it. The work will get put in, and you know, I'm just trying to just get done what I want to get done and achieve what I can achieve, and just want to show people, you know, I am capable, and you know, us women as well, you know, we deserve that little bit more publicity now, and you know, a bit more respect for what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to clarify on the weight, Nina, are we talking super lightweight or welterweight? What are you going to be campaigning at?
I believe the next one's going to be super lightweight as well. Obviously, when I originally turned professional, I was welterweight. My last fight was super lightweight, so I have kind of stuck around that weight since the fight. So I do believe we're going to be like, this next fight will be put down as super lightweight as well. So we probably will be hanging around that sort of weight category now.
Obviously, at that weight, we're looking at the likes of Cecilia Breakers. You got the likes of Katie Taylor as well. Chantel Cameron was fighting last night. You mentioned the female aspect. I've asked our female guests this before. Do you feel any pressure on your shoulders, obviously, being a female boxer in the ring? Was it just all part and parcel of the sport for you?
No pressure. Yeah, it's just part and parcel of the sport. I don't feel pressured, like being a female doing the sport. Like I said, I do feel we're getting a bit more recognition now, and you know, when you do go to the boxing, and you know, I was at the show last weekend, Nicola Adams was fighting. People are talking around and like, God, that was the best fight of the night so far. You know, they enjoy the women fights. You know, we like to get a fight on. You know, that we're exciting. So I do believe like it's starting to become a norm. To sit and watch it. So, yeah.
Are you a big boxing fan yourself, Nina? Who did you watch growing up and that?
See, growing up, no. I turned over amateur in 2010. So I was 22. So I weren't really. I've always been a sporty girl. Like I was more into my football, and then it was just one of them things. I was in the gym. I was always in the gym and worked at a gym. And then I started boxing, and it just went from there. Like, I loved the amateurs. I liked the amateur side of it. And then I had a couple couple of years out. And then, like I say, me and Carl had a chat, and Kate Taylor had signed over, and a few other people. So we thought we'll give it a go.
Final couple of questions, Nina. How far do you realistically think you can go in the sport?
I believe I've got the ability to go all the way. Like I'm trying to, before I try and hang my gloves up, I'm trying to say that I was involved in a nice big world title fight. And I do believe I've got the ability to do it. It's not unrealistic. There's work still to be done. But you're always learning. I don't think you ever master it. You're always learning.
What sort of sparring does Carl get you in doing, Nina?
Sparring we find difficult. Obviously, because I'm working as well, I'm a carer. So when I'm caring, it's my daytime thing, and it's getting my sparring, because obviously it's down. A lot of the girls are down London and stuff like that. It's travelling as well, and it's fitting it in. So if I'm struggling to get in with any of the girls that are local, I'm just jumping in with the lads in the gym, and I don't mind that. And we say to the lads, look, I'm here to box, so. Obviously, they don't go full out on you, but you let them know that you want to be hit. You want them to make you work, and they do. The lads are great in the gym. They help me as much as they can.
Great stuff. Fantastic insight there. At Nina Boom 29, everybody over on Twitter. Final question we ask all of our guests this, Nina. Deontay Wilder's fighting Tyson Fury on December the 1st. Anthony Joshua is just off the back of a big win as well. You've got Joshua, you've got Wilder, you've got Fury. Who's going to come out on top of those three as the best heavyweight in the world?
I'm going to say out of them all.
Yep.
I'm going to say Joshua.
Think he's got the beating of the other two, yeah?
Yeah, and on Wilder Fury, I'm just a little bit of me just swaying Fury for that one.
Really, that's interesting. Even though he's been out for so long.
Yeah, I do. I think you know what it is when I watch it. I think it's his style that will. I know, but then the thing is with the heavyweights for me as well. It's just exciting to watch because you just never know what's going to happen because they're so big and. Sometimes it can go into a swinging war and you're getting caught, you're going down. But yeah, that's for me. But we'll have to wait and see.
Well said. Right, okay, that's all from us. Obviously, good luck in the future. We'll follow your career with interest, and hopefully this big opportunity that you spoke about, this trip to Germany or whatever, will come up. And thanks for joining us on this Sunday evening, Nina.
Thank you very much.
All the best. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Nina Bradley there, everybody. Interesting bits and pieces, especially about the sparring and that. I always do wonder about that. Let's stick them in with the fellas and let them get on with it. Right, Andy, let's let you get on with it. Where were we? I can't remember. Rob was talking about Crawford, wasn't he? We had a bit of World Boxing Super Series. There's only one place we can go next, isn't there, Andy? Let's get on with Bakole, shall we? An L for Scotland, an L for the Democratic Republic of Congo. Where are you going to start with this one?
We'll start with the beginning, I suppose. What can you really say? I mean, to me, it looked like he was kind of looking just to kind of get the one big shot off. You got your Hunter fair play. For a guy who actually was competitive with Usyk, he did pretty well. He obviously was getting up a lot of size, a lot of weight as well. But remained patient. Didn't they get flustered or anything like that? Just kind of stuck to obviously that was the game plan. And in the end, I mean, Christ, what an ending! I'd love to know what the scorecards were going into that last round like. But I thought in the end there was, even if it went the full distance and that, there was no way you could have robbed Hunter on the scorecard. Surely no. It was a weird situation in the corner, I suppose. I mean, I suppose Billy knows the fighter, better than anybody. He's put a tweet out saying as his shoulder had popped and he was requesting help to pop it back in. Don't know how true that is, but
I think that's bullshit. But what I will say, Andy, is I think Billy's very emotionally as well as financially invested in this. This isn't your average, trainer-fighter relationship. He's come on the pod and he said before he really has high hopes for this kid and he's put everything in. And at one point you could see Billy was getting desperate, even a bit emotional. This guy, I'm not going to go so far as to say he was letting him down, but Billy was just, you could see everything that they've worked for just slipping away. And, I did feel for him, to be honest with you. He thought Bakole, it was like he was throwing it away. And I don't blame Billy necessarily, Andy. He said, my shoulder's out. And people were saying, you need to protect the fighter. I agree with that. But how many times do we see guys going out there? Remember Danny Williams against Mark Potter? Williams' shoulder had popped out and he knocked Potter out with the other arm. It wasn't completely beyond the realms of what we see in this sport. Billy asking him, talking him to go back out there, was it?
Well, what about, remember, was it Audley Harrison? He fought on, who was it against?
Michael Sprott, was it, when he had an elbow injury or something?
No, it was a shoulder injury. He popped his shoulder out.
Was it shoulder? Right, okay.
I remember one story about Mickey Ward going back. He maybe broke his hand. It might be Mickey Ward anyway. And he sat down in the corner and he says, I broke my hand. And his brother says to him, what do you want me to do about it? You got to fight.
Dr. Tyson, get out there! Don't you quit on me!
One of the most epic ones, Corrales. Remember, he had to get up off the canvas twice. He looked like he was ready to be taken. And what does the man with the denim jacket say to him? You better get fucking inside him now, boy. He could have stopped the fight there and then. He could have maybe seen that he was maybe done. That's it. Fighters fight. I mean, I will say this. I'll probably say this defensibility as well. Is right. Okay, as you say, Steve, maybe he is emotionally invested, financially invested. But the other thing as well is he maybe knows more about what Bakole's all about than what we know. Maybe there's been elements in the gym and that he's seen as maybe there's an element in him who wants to get the easy way out when it's not going for him and stuff like that. End of the day as well, we'll also be hearing all these stories in sparring sessions about Ian Dubois and Josh with not the business, but some heavy work and stuff. So
which is strange, Andy. So why did Billy's made comments as well in the past? I think someone's put it up for Belly of the Week. There's going to be a lot of Billy comments Belly of the Week. But anyway, he said something like, Hunter might even quit in this fight. There's not an ounce of quitting Bakole. So, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why has he even gone to somewhere like that? I mean, it's a strange thing to say beforehand.
Maybe he's just not as good as what we think, or it's just when it comes down to the business under the lights that it's just. I mean, in the day as well, the sparring. How many rounds they're doing? 4, 6 rounds a session. Maybe once over, maybe every 3-4 days a week or whatever. And that. It's not really.
You heard Nina there, Andy. You heard Nina. You would be nervous, wouldn't you, at the end of the day? Even if you're doing white collar or something like that. Bakole's going in, Channel 5, terrestrial TV, headlining at your call. All of a sudden, the nerves are going to kick in, aren't they?
Reality hits you, mate. That's what happens.
You gas quicker.
Well, that's what it's a circle of truth, isn't it? It's a circle of truth. If you're not ready, you're going to get found out. One way or another, you will get found out.
What are the chances that in any sparring session that guy's ever been in, he's faced the kind of heat and intensity coming back at him like Hunter showed? I don't think there's any chance that, like even against Joshua, they're sparring. They're not going to fight like Hunter did last night.
Andy, we had a question. Sorry, I was just bringing it up there actually from Max Stoke. He said, where now for Bakole and Hunter? I'd like to see Hunter in with somebody in the top 15 to 20 now. His movement will cause havoc to a lot of them. Possibly. I did think Hunter's gassing at times. I'll tell you what, he's got balls, hasn't he, Hunter? You've got to give him that.
He has got balls, but his career belongs. It really does. He's a cruiserweight.
He's too small a heavy. Yeah.
Oh, you can see it last night. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. I mean, Bakole's a big dude, and just to kind of go up against a guy like that, it takes balls. We've said it all before. A guy, that size especially, punching on a bigger guy like that, it takes a lot out of you at the same time. You got to box, move, and stick to the game plan. Fantastic performance for Hunter there last night. But his business is doing it cruiserweight. There's no question in my mind.
Yeah, talking.
I don't know. I mean, seriously. I mean, what are you going to do with Bakole? Really? I mean, you're going to put him with DL Jones types fighters and stuff like that. I mean, that was what he was fighting before this fight.
He's going to have to take a tough one now, Andy. The only way he can gain any type of redemption, he's not an A. I'm not saying he was an A side, but he was thought of quite highly. He was there to win last night. He was the headliner. Channel 5, Cyclone Promotions. They all bought Bakole in to win that fight. Mm-hmm. If he's going to get back up to anywhere decent now, they're going to have to stick him in like a 10-rounder against somebody who's half decent. He might even have to be the opponent as such, and he has to win like that to sort of get
Hergovich.
Yeah.
Guillermo Jones. When we put that, he's heavyweight still, believe it or not. But no, you mean he's probably got. I mean, seriously, what Cyclone means? Cyclone. Well, how many cards are they going to put on? Right, you got Taylor obviously in the WBSS, so he's promotionally he's kind of tied up in that situation, right? So they've not really got a headliner as such. I mean, Lee McGregor was fantastic last night. If you look at, I've not seen the fight yet, but I will watch it. So other than maybe like Lee McGregor coming through and stuff, who was a top amateur, top junior amateur and stuff like that. So other than him, who's obviously going to take a wee bit of time to build, I think you probably need to take Bakole on the road to the likes of Hergovic or maybe one of the Romanian fighters, for example, Germany for maybe likes of Ustinov or something like that. I don't know.
I honestly don't think Bakole looked that bad, considering he was in against a guy who's had some very tough experience and come through most of it, was competitive with Usyk, who's really good. I saw Bakole. He looked like a guy who just simply never had that kind of heat thrown back at him and was taken aback by it, and it shook his confidence. But early on, he was working that jab really well. His jab was accurate, seemed effective. Later on in the fight, he used it well as well. He was timing the uppercuts really well when Hunter was coming in. I think he's offensively pretty good. It's the defense they got to work on, that conditioning they got to work on. I mean, I see some upside to Bakole still. He's certainly more upside than I ever saw with David Price. I think Bakole is potentially could come back from this. The heart you worry about is probably one of the biggest things you have to worry about, because he did seem like he wanted to quit. That said, in Billy Nelson's position, I would have done the same thing. I was watched this fight after I knew the outcome, and I was seeing on Twitter all these people saying Billy was like being like this tyrant and sending him out there to get battered. Well, ultimately, yeah, he did send him out there to get battered more. But in that position, it was coming off of a round that Bakole had just looked very good in. He was backing Hunter up with the jab. Hunter appeared to be fading. I think it was the 8th round. He appeared to be fading again, the same he had done in the 5th round. It was kind of bizarre to watch Hunter's energy levels going up and down. He would have these phenomenal rallies, and then he would just seem to be dead tired. So I would like to see Hunter get better at stamina management there. But it looked pretty good for Bakole at the end of the 8th round, as far as the momentum seemed to be going his way. And I don't think the shoulder was dislocated. I don't think it was unusable. He like a minute.
Right there, Dave. You're right there, Dave, because he was showing the right hand in the 12th round, and after the fight, he had his hands up in the air as well.
I think it was like ligament, like a slight ligament strain or damage or something like that, maybe.
He was getting in the right hooks and uppercuts like a minute before he got knocked out. So the style of the fight reminded me a little bit of Sean Porter versus Garcia, in that Hunter's game plan was to both come in, muscle him around, get on the inside and do the work, but also throw him off with some movement, work some outside shots. It was a combination of styles, and I thought it was really fun to watch. Definitely fight of the week and good stuff. What would you guys think about who wins between Lebedev and Michael Hunter if he can get back down to cruiser?
I don't know. Hunter needs to be more active for me. I think he's hearing fits and starts, isn't he? He's got no business being up at heavyweight. I agree with Andy on that. Maybe go back down to cruiserweight. Yeah, I wouldn't mind him seeing fight Lebedev, to be honest. I think the problem with Bakole is everyone's judging him within the context of what we've heard, not even so much Billy Nelson. Billy, I think, was a lot of it towards the end was maybe tongue-in-cheek, he was joking and that, but he was really high on the train. But Andy, you had like Barry coming out in his Mirror column talking about Riddick Bowe, one of the greatest fighters of a generation. I mean, talk about heaping the praise. I mean, maybe current Riddick Bowe possibly, but not the 90s Bowe.
The Bowe on Twitter who sells retweets for $5.
That's what's up, Dave. That's what's up.
The Bowe who threw the title belt in the bin, maybe.
Why'd you always have to bring that up for, Rob?
I know, it hurts me. It hurts me too. It hurts me too, man. It hurts me too. I was a big Bowe fan, but that's definitely a blemish on him.
I loved Bowe. Anyway, tell me about Bakole, Rob. Do you see the Bowe comparisons?
No, like I said, only the comparison. Let me know, by the way, if my sound is okay, because I know it could be dodgy when I'm out about.
At the moment, it is, yeah.
Yeah, no, look, I said last week that I wasn't going to watch Bakole on Saturday night, no disrespect to him, but the level, of the fight, it was just, I thought it was horrible. I didn't enjoy the fight. I know Hunter was competitive. I think we have to factor in the fact that he's gone through some personal loss recently. Was his mother passed or something a couple of weeks ago? So maybe going into that fight, sometimes fellas that are emotionally charged like that, they bring out a better version of themselves, and maybe that took Bakole by surprise. We can go back to Buster Douglas with a similar situation, obviously on a much bigger scale, but just in terms of what the guys were saying, I think Andy covered it as well. Billy's obviously seen something from this guy in the gym where he's rating him very, very highly. Like, so he probably expected more of a fight out of him when things weren't going his way. And for me, I couldn't find any conclusive evidence in the corner that he meant pull my shoulder out, pop it back in. I found that he was just saying, my shoulder's not there. Like, and Billy was like, all right, we'll go out and throw it. You're gonna have to fix it later. Like, go out and throw. And I really didn't think there was anything wrong with that from the point of view that Billy is invested in him, as you said. And as well as that, it's a long road back. When you get an opportunity to headline, and you know what I mean. It's tough for fighters when they're building them and they're trying to get their record up and move them up in class. If there's a slip, it's a long way back. And like you guys just said, when you're floating opponents for him now, you don't really sure where he's going to go. So it's not going to be like he's going to go straight back in to contention, or they got to rebuild with him now. I don't think it helps. I'm not sure how familiar he is with Riddick Bowe, but I don't think it helps him, McGuigan and the likes. I know they got to sell fights, but when you put labels on these young fighters like, is it Josh Kelly? They've been talking like he's Lomachenko or Jones. With Bakole, it was Riddick Bowe. With Ritson, it was Golovkin. Like, you can't put these big labels on fellas until they've done it. I think it's not fair on the fighters. Yeah, it's not fair, but it's not fair on the fighters. Yeah, exactly. But I feel like it's not fair on the fighters, and it's too much expectation on them. Let them build them up. But in terms of what the guys were saying as well about the nerves, yeah, I mean, even if you're going to have a spar, you're going to be full of nervous energy. It's part of your human instinct. Your adrenaline is kicking in. There's butterflies in your stomach. You're just about to have a fight. So it's it's all part of human nature. But what separates the top guys is the ones who can do it under the lights, and the ones who can stay calm under pressure and prove that no matter what the circumstances are, even in adversity, that they find a way to win. And I didn't think Bakole, looking at him, looked like he was willing to try and find a way to win. I feel like he was looking for the quit. I think we're seeing a lot more of that. Now, I know obviously he hasn't earned mega bucks, but I think especially in the States these days, with some of the money that they're making even earlier in their career, especially the Heyman guys and stuff, I think we're just seeing elements of that. Fellas are paid too much, you know what I mean? And they might just want to take the route out, and not really like the fighters of old where your life is dependent on it. So I'm torn on that, because I want to see fighters make as much money as they can, because it is a dangerous sport. But at the same time, I think I'm not talking about Bakole in particular here, but I think some fighters are overpaid, and that's where we're seeing the elements of the quit more often.
Here, Rob, something just occurred to me. Martin Bakole versus Curtis Harper. Who gets out the ring quickest first?
I think that's a little bit unfair on Bakole. In fairness, a little bit unfair, but yeah, definitely funny.
Right, Gabe didn't see that one. Hater Dave's had his say, and Andy's had his say as well. There's something else I'm missing, isn't there, from the weekend? Yeah, Andy, I know you said you didn't. I know you said you didn't see Lee McGregor, Andy, against Thomas Asomba. I saw the highlights of this, and it was a really good fight. I wasn't too happy about the ending, to be honest with you. McGregor, from what I saw, grabbed hold of Asomba's head, pushed it down, and hit him a couple of times while he was on the floor. Now, I'm not saying Asomba wasn't hurt, but the ending didn't really sit right with me. And I don't think you saw it, Andy. Sorry, I'm just ranting.
No problem, mate. I'll take your word for it. No, as I say, what happened last night, obviously, I know people were spread over, 3 events we had on live last night. So I'd spent, obviously, live watching the card for Russia. After that, I caught the end of Ritson, and then I fast-forwarded, went back to the start of the show, fast-forwarded through that shit, fast-forwarded through some of the fights on Channel 5, watched Bakole, and then, obviously, I've still got McGregor still to watch, so...
Yeah, we're going on to
Chantel Cameron as well, probably. But
I didn't see that. We're going on to Ritson now. I had 2 laptops next to each other, and I had Channel 5 on the TV, so we were going for it. Andy, while you're unmuted, we might as well bring you in on Ben Thorns' question about Lewis Ritson. Obviously, Ritson lost a split decision to Francesco Patera for the vacant European lightweight title. More a comment than a question, says Ben. I think that loss for Ritson will be the making of him. He will refine his boxing, improve his gas tank, and come back better. Good matchmaking. At the end of the day, yeah, I suppose he's 25, Andy. A loss isn't the end of the world, as we so regularly say. Ritson, it's not beneficial in the short term, but maybe in the long term, this could benefit him.
Yeah, one thing that didn't sit right. I know I'm not wanting to kind of go in about a kind of sky rant and stuff like that, but I did think they were trying to make excuses for him last night, talking about the weight, for example. In the end, he was well beaten. I would probably say it was a shock. I did think some of his last week were maybe writing them off. I did watch one of the fights against Tete, and did think Tete is a classic stand-up straight, typical European kind of style fighter, and probably, if Tatley had been a bit more aggressive and stuff like that, I think he probably would have got, legit beat. Considering, Ritson was trying to kind of, put the pressure on kind of early doors and stuff. Just the movement, the counter shots, counter punching for Patera was absolutely fantastic. He was badly hurt to the body. I think it was at the 5th or 6th round. I think it was, and the second did kind of seem to slow him up a wee bit. So maybe that did take a wee bit out of him. But in the end, I did think he was well beaten and stuff. And okay, if the only way you're going to learn for that loss, if you start kind of refining your game, it's just like he had no other plan there last night, but rather to kind of plough forward, try and land heavy shots. So what are you going to do if the guy doesn't kind of crease, can take those shots, you're up in levels and stuff like that. But the good thing is, he probably will go away and learn for that. We know that at the minute, he's been, I wouldn't say he's fast tracked, he's just basically blew apart the domestic competition. So he could hang about at European level for a wee bit, maybe kind of work towards a kind of Tatley fight. I was kind of surprised that Tatley kind of vacated the belt like that, actually, because especially kind of there's like no plans for him at the minute. There's been nothing kind of really kind of in the wind about what's going to be planned for him, and I didn't really see him winning any sort of world title anytime soon. So yeah, but Ritson, at one point I think goes away. He'll probably have a couple of over the weight fights, maybe just get a couple of tune-up fights and kind of get back in the mix, maybe. We'll wait and see what happens with him next. But he's going to kind of go away, kind of get working on the jab and stuff like that, and try and draw feints for his opposition and stuff like that, so he can then kind of counter himself. But last night he was just kind of ploughing forward. It was just kind of like plan A, and then once he got hurt and once he ran out of steam, that was him. He had no other answers.
Yeah, Editing King in the chat was making a similar point. No plan B. Hater Dave, you've always got a plan B. We know that you're ready. Num Tapestry was in touch. A similar theme, really, to the questions. Is the loss Ritson suffered a blessing in disguise? Not having a strength and conditioning coach or a nutritionist seems, in modern high-level boxing, a given. Had he won, I'd assume he'd continue without them and be found out at a bigger stage. Have we just found him out now, Hater Dave? And then that'll save him the heartache later on? I mean, what do you think?
I'm
Dave.
sorry, I'm watching the football game here. What was the question?
I'm going to have to read that out all again, am I? Let me see if I can make it with a bit more concision for you. Has this saved Ritson getting the L further down the line? He'll maybe make the changes, strength and conditioning and all that now.
Okay, Steelers won. I'm just going to say, well, I didn't see the Ritson fight, but
Antonio Brown with a touchdown, eh?
Yep, there it goes. The nickname Jordy. What is it? How do you say it? Jordy Golovkin.
Oh fuck! Did I start that shite?
Yeah, I mean that's certainly a little early, but yeah, I think I would agree with the questioner. Yeah, it is saving him, but I mean it's a pretty bad loss either way. It's a bad look. And you had Hearn saying like, well, wait till he wins the title. He's going to see Theresa May and stuff. Like, I'm going to nominate that for Belly of the Week later on. But yeah, I mean, this could be saving him. I mean, maybe a knockout later, but it's not saving him much. It's not really help. It's still a bad loss one way or another.
Thanks for that, Dave.
See, I think some people are kind of go a wee bit kind of crazy here. Actually, maybe say that he's been overhyped. It's purely he's been hyped to the point because he's blew apart the domestic competition in so many rounds and stuff like that. So he can't expect to kind of go up, at European level, because there's some good operators up there, regardless if they're going to be like world champions and that. No, everybody can be a world champion. I just think his team there last night. As Editing King also pointed out there in the chat, there's no plan B. You can't expect to go up the European level and expect your opponent just to take a few shots and then they're going to wilt under that power. It's just not going to happen. There's as I say, there's some good, tough operators at European level. So, he's got his jab's decent, but he's got to kind of add more tools to it as well.
And one thing I will add as well, I'm sure I saw Neil Fannon in the corner last night. Now, I could be getting some of this wrong, but I'm just doing off the top of my head. Neil Fannon used to train Michael Hunter, and he used to have Hunter running up the sand dunes of some beach and that up in Hartlepool and what have you. Neil Fannon, you think he would have him in absolutely ripped condition. So, I don't know. People are talking about strength and conditioning coaches in the chat. James DeGale, his stamina issues and that. It's an ongoing thing, isn't it? People use them, some don't. Back in the day, Salvador Sanchez and them boys, we always say this type of shite, but they're off chopping trees, picking up tractor tyres and all this type of mad stuff, and they could go 15 rounds. No problem. Rob Kelly, let's get 15 rounds out of you. Actually, Rob, let me draw you into this Lewis Ritson with a question from Christopher Ansell. he was highlighting the fact earlier that Alan Shearer helped walk Ritson to the ring. We've also seen Wayne Rooney walking Ricky Hatton to the ring in the past. And Sky Sports Boxing said, which footballer would you have ring walking you, Rob? So who would be perfect for your ring walk?
I think you're looking at God himself, Henrik Larsson. Andy will agree with me. Andy will agree with me on that one. I know I don't think Henrik could have the personality for it.
Scuba Henrik.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know if he'd have the personality for it. He might be a bit low key, might be a bit low key, but could bring him out and do a recreation of the nutmeg that he did on Contraman before he chipped Stefan Kloss, maybe. You know what I mean? I could do that. That'd be good. But in terms of Ritson, I think lads are spot on again. Like, look, Eddie Hearn's put the label Jordy Golovkin on him, and we know why Eddie Hearn's done that, because he loves a ticket seller, right? Which is every promoter does. He loves a ticket seller, but what else does Eddie Hearn love better than a ticket seller? A domestic star, someone he can get in a domestic dust up that can have beef down the line, a local lad. He loves it, so he's heaping pressure on this guy. And to me, what I'd seen from Ritson earlier as well, that he packed the dig, but that's pretty much it. And I would struggle to give him a chance at world level. I really would. Like, I think we'll see him back out because Eddie sticks by his ticket sellers, as we've seen with Dave Allen. Like, but I don't know. Like, you normally can see with guys, even at that stage of their career, whether they're going to be something at world level or not. Now, some of them could get knocked out along the way, and some of them you could be completely wrong about. But you'll normally know by their fundamentals, by their ability, whereabouts they're going to get to at that stage of the career. And I just can't see Ritson being world level in the future. Like,
combinations too predictable, Rob. That's what they were saying on the analysis last night.
He's just a bit limited. Like, he's got a straight up style. Looks for the right hand a lot. And look, I'm not going to take too much away from him. Or maybe like it's not his fault that they're hyping him like this. He just seems like a normal guy. Good hard worker. He took a very hard body shot in the first round. He said he was pissing blood. Like, liver shots, body shots, they could be very debilitating. Like, and it's easy sometimes on the outside to kind of say, oh, well, this guy's trash or whatever, and he's not what they said he was. Well, he's not what they're saying he is. Like, that's clear, I think. But at the same time, body shots can be fucking vicious and a lot of them, and so maybe he showed something in there that he's willing to dig in. But again, as I said, in terms of his ability, I would struggle to see him at world level.
Yeah, I owe Ozzy an apology. I know we're having a back and forward recently. I was talking about Dayan Zlatakan. I thought Ritson would beat him. Maybe I got caught up in the hype train. Ozzy said no chance. I think Ozzy has been proven to be right. Smido's on the call. Coming to you shortly, Smido, on Ritson. Also, we've got a rugby league question for you. Gabe, did you see anything Lewis Ritson by any chance last night? Gabe?
Sorry, no, I did not.
Gabe's away at the clan meeting. Did I disturb him?
He's a robot too.
What's going on? What's happening, Dave? In the background there sounds like a party.
I'm watching football.
Bar mitzvah, Dave.
I was going to say though, like, we're obviously talking about Ritson because he was the A side, he was the favorite, and he was upset. But as far as Patera, has he found his level? Like, is this just like did he improve since his other couple fights, like against Dodd? You'd think I mean, we thought we'd seen his level before. He was like about even with Dodd, but like now there's this fairly convincing win. I think someone said he had Ritson out on his feet late in the fight. Is Patera an improved fighter, and does he have a higher ceiling than we previously thought?
Maybe the experience, Dave. He's picked up that experience. Ritson hasn't had to do anything different so far. He's been walking through people. He hits you, you get hurt, you go down. It doesn't matter whether it takes one round like Highland or Murray or Cardle, which was like 2 or 3 rounds, or Robbie Barrett, where it took him 7 or 8 rounds to break him down. He eventually gets to you, and he hasn't had to do anything different. And this one, Patera showed him different things. And I think the body work, which I'm going to give credit to you, Adam Smido-Smith, perfect time to bring you in. You were saying from the early rounds, that body work, particularly the left hook to the body, was softening up Ritson. You're the man. You're like Mystic Meg.
Well, I think Mystic Meg's a bit strong, given that last night the only bet I placed was Sammy and Nebo to beat Dave Allen, and that went well. No, I just noticed that Patera early doors was very crisp with his combinations. He's clearly not a puncher. His record didn't suggest that, and he didn't fight in that manner. But I thought, yeah, early doors, he landed a couple of shots to Ritson's right hand side of Ritson's body, just to make him think about it. Patera last night could have folded in the first 4 or 5 rounds, as a lot of people have done, and even earlier against Ritson. But he's obviously, we do talk about levels, and I know it's a cliche, but he's obviously a level above what Ritson's been fighting domestically. And so it proved, I thought it was a really entertaining fight. We had 2 clear and distinct styles and strategies against each other. We had the puncher against the boxer. I know that was obvious for everyone to see, but that's why I enjoyed it. And I thought Patera boxed beautifully at times. I've not seen him before. I didn't even see the Dodd fight, to be honest. But yeah, I thought he boxed really, really well at times, and he comes out with a lot of credit. And he's definitely ain't going to be easy to beat him at that level, whether that be in a Ritson rematch or someone else from over these shores, or any European shores for that matter. So no, I quite enjoyed it. Ritson did start well with the jab. And I think that he thought he was bossing it, and then yeah, just kind of ran out of ideas. Really, it was quite repetitive from him. And then I think although I did note the body shot in the first couple of rounds, I didn't think he was hurt. But Ritson was happy to highlight that in the post fight interview, saying that he was hurt early doors. He said it 3, 4, 5 times. I thought the first time he looked to my eye was in, I think it was around the 7th or 8th.
7th, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I come alive really as a punter, because obviously Ritson was the heavy favourite before the fight, and because the algorithms are set up, if you like. So despite Ritson losing, it was probably close to even, if not him losing around the 7th or 8th round, because he started as such a long favourite at the outset, that the odds still weren't reflected at around 7 or 8. Ritson was still a big favourite, even though to everyone's eye, it was very close at the very least. So yeah, when he got hurt with a body shot, and the commentators called it at the time, he was bringing his arms down and leaving himself open up top. I got quite excited by that. I backed Patera to win by KO. Obviously, he didn't, so that's another L on the night. But yeah, I just thought that Patera was the better guy on the night. We was all predicting, including myself, Wild West judging it up in Newcastle. But yeah, I think it went the right way. I don't score fights anymore. It's a waste of time for me.
What about the 4 points to Ritson, Smido, the one judge?
Yeah, obviously I wouldn't concur with that at all. But I just think that's the way they see it. I mean, if last night it would have been a 1-1-4, 1-1-4, would we have really found much problem with that? I don't know. I'm just thinking about that now. I mean, I thought Patera won it, and I think the consensus would have been that, but I certainly didn't. I'm not saying I sat there and scored it. If it was in the unlikely event, it was a unanimous 1-1-4, 1-1-4 across the board, would we have argued with that tonight? I don't know. I'll ask you that, Steve.
Well, I'm here to ask the questions, not answer them, Smido. I'm not that
Steve,
stupid.
A man with your knowledge, you are an award winner. You should be answering these questions. Yeah, answer my question, Steve. You're an award winner.
Smido, I'll be honest, I was flicking up and down on Twitter, so I didn't even get the question fully. Ask it again, sorry.
Right. If it was, I'm not saying a split draw, i.e. a 1-1-6 one way and a 1-1-6 the other way, and then a 1-1-4 to make it a draw. That's not good enough. That's too wide. If it was a unanimous 1-1-4 across the board, would we be sitting here arguing it tonight?
Well, we probably would, because it's Matchroom and everything. But yeah, you do make a good point, actually. And I tell you one thing that I did pick up on. Whenever, maybe I'm a hater, but whenever at the end, Ritson was really trying his best to try and force his way into the fight, the crowd were getting into it. Adam Smith, not you, the other one, was backing him. Come on, can he do it? And everyone seemed to be collectively. Paul Smigger Smith was getting in there. They all wanted him to win. I was pretty much the opposite. I was thinking, I like the underdog story here. I want Patera to come back and win. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I wouldn't have gone for the draw. I thought Patera was in answer to your question, Smido, I wouldn't have been happy with the 114 across the board. I thought the 116, 112 to Patera was a fair score, and I couldn't see it swinging by, the 8 points the other way.
Yeah, the 8 points the other way was obviously too far. What kind of judges did they have last night? Was it British or was it...
experienced European level. Yeah. I don't know who the other 2 judges were, but the one who gave it to Ritson was Søren Søndergaard, I think. I've seen him around the scene quite a lot doing European title fights and that. So you'd assume relatively experienced. I don't know, maybe the cushy pillows in the Hilton and the bubbles in the the what do you call them things? Can't even think, Smitho.
Brown envelopes. No, but I thought after it that we can all laugh at Eddie Hearn saying it's the Geordie Golovkin and a ticket seller, and they had 9,000, even though that I think a lot of them emptied out after that 4-rounder. I don't know what anyone else thought.
There was not 9,000 there, I guarantee you.
No. But what I'm saying is, I've got absolutely no problem with the way Ritson has been campaigned. There was a clear strategy to get pretty quickly the British title defences. I think he won it outright. Am I correct?
Yep.
Yeah, so he's done that pretty quickly. That was a clear strategy. There was no Latvians in there, obviously. And then the next logical step from there, if you go in, is to European level, which he's done. He's not made the jump to world level as we've seen from quite a lot of the matchroom fighters. Some of them called Smith. So yeah, it was a logical step. In his home town, he was the long odds on favourite, correctly or not. So like I say, I've got nothing wrong with the matchmaking or the fight. I think Ritson will probably come again. Change of team, as you guys have alluded to. He's young enough. I think he's hungry enough still. Yeah, I've got no problem with it. You can't. Not everyone can be a world champion, and you can't win. Not many people win every fight.
Yeah, it was jacuzzis I was trying to think of earlier. I'm allowing myself to become distracted, Smitho, which is unprofessional of me. Anything off the undercard, very briefly, because we are running out of time here. Glenn Foote, Robbie Davis Jr., Joshua Barazzi didn't see it. Knocked out this Avalanche who Yarde went like 7 or 8 rounds with.
Yeah, you've got to be impressed with that. Yeah, it's plain and simple. You've got to be impressed with that. And the way that they're talking, they're looking at moving him on pretty swiftly. They're talking about Jose Burton. Glenn Foote was disappointing for me last night. He is what he is. I know he's not a world beater. Robbie Davis Jr. had questions to answer as well, and it was a big opportunity for both of them, particularly Davis Jr. I think it was his first time on Sky, if not ever, definitely for a while. I know he was flirting with Channel 5 and stuff before that. So, but that was messy. There was plenty of blood around. Yeah, that was a messy fight. Correct winners come out of that, of course. Dave Allen, I was watching Wigan Warriors triumphant in the Super League Grand Final. And then I knew I'd had a bet on this Nebo to beat Dave Allen. And I flicked over. So I saw Twitter and it was, just about to start coming to the ring. Rugby finish, flicked over. Dave Allen sitting on the side of the ring doing an interview. And in the bottom left-hand corner, it says, Allen, round 1, ref stop fight. And I was like, fantastic. My tenner's gone a long way there. The thinking was there, anyone with a winning record in Europe shouldn't be 10-1 to beat Dave Allen. That was my thinking. But obviously I was wrong. And I'm wrong a lot. But that was my thinking.
There was thinking then.
Yeah, Sammy and Nebo, I've never heard of him. But yeah, I just looked at his record. I think he was 10-2. Every fight was a knockout either way.
Did you not hear me say last week, saying that he fucking got knocked off Tom Schwartz? Did you hear me say it? If you get knocked off Tom Schwartz, who's ranked 4 in the world with WBO, you shouldn't be fucking fighting that guy. He's shit.
Smitho, Sammy and Nasri would have put up a better fight.
Nasri probably would have done, yeah. So, but yeah, I did see it. Yeah, Dave Allen came out absolutely flying. Body shots were pretty good for him, and obviously that was his clear strategy. And we're going to end up with Dave Allen on another pay-per-view show again. I think Dave Allen, I'm not even exaggerating, might own a record for number of pay-per-view appearances who's not called Anthony Joshua. Seriously. That is getting like beyond a joke. And while we're at it, Steve, I would just remind the listeners that Eddie Hearn has not promoted a world title fight in the UK this year that hasn't been on pay-per-view. So this is the level we're looking at for Saturday night fight nights. Edward did say, it was a while ago now, but he did say at the start of the Joshua explosion that it was going to reinvest the pay-per-view and the Wembley money in Saturday night fight nights. That has not happened. Glenn Foote and Robbie Davis Jr., I'm guessing, or neither of them are promoted by Matchroom.
Davis is now, I think, isn't he?
He might. Okay, I'll rephrase that. Glenn Foote and Robbie Davis Jr. are not top priorities within Matchroom and probably never will be. Ritson and Patera fight, I can't see being a particularly expensive one to put on. And we had a 4-rounder. I know it wasn't chief support, but both commentators, both Smith actually, used the word chief support when commentating on that 4-rounder. It's still not good enough. By a long shot, it's still not good enough.
You need to lay reference as well to the good fight between Craig Glover and Simon Vallely, by the way. That was a good fight. Glover, by the way, I've never seen him fight before, but I was really impressed with his composure. See, when Vallely was trying to talk to him, sticking out the tongue, trying to kind of bait him in that, didn't bite it, just kept to the game plan, and in the end, absolutely butchered him. So, a really good performance by Craig Glover there, just to add that in there.
Yeah, fair enough. I didn't see that. One of the highlights on the night was Kell Brook's interview. I know we'll come on to that in the Value of the Week section, but oh my Lord. Oh God. Like,
yeah, that will come. That will come.
Even if that man had a
Kell Brook.
Even if that man had a script, he wouldn't be able to stick to it. Like, he doesn't know what the words that are coming out of his mouth. Like, he's not wired up right. He sounds more punch drunk than ever. There's a cloud over the gym. And then the guy, I know there was the one comment about, not losing because he's had 2 broken eye sockets, but the interviewer asked him about what are your options at 154. Then he reeled off instantaneously without thinking about it or realizing what he was doing. At the end of a 154 question, he went straight into, there's Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter rematch. Are you fucking joking, man? He's actually about 154.
Eddie Hearn said he was number 1 fighter at 154 as well after his first fight against Rob Jacob.
Shite, man. What?
People fucking shit. This is what I'm saying. People drink that shit in, man. They're like, oh, Eddie, man, Eddie, golden shower on the pish. What a load of crap.
I am over that Khan and Kell Brook fight. I'm over it. Fucking hell, 5 years ago we wanted to see it, and now it's maybe 2019. They're going to be like them 2 characters in that De Niro film, and if I can't remember who else was in it because it was terrible, where they're all Stallone. Yeah. That one, like, what the fuck? The fight, and Amir, just take the fight, dude. Pacquiao's gone with Heyman. You're not getting that fight. Just forget about it. Take the Brook fight, and that's it.
They are trading on name value in UK alone. Nobody. I don't want to see that shit anymore. That fight should have been made, as Rob says, 3, 4, 5. I mean, as much as 6 years ago. What's the point? You've got Khan who have got severe concerns about his health, and you've got another guy who's got fucking dodgy bones, dodgy fucking gym, and he's dying to make the weight. So what you're going to have? You're going to have 2 guys who are basically permanently compromised. We'll put it that way. You got a guy who can't make weight safely, and you got another guy who's fucking punchy, and another one who's going to get badly knocked out because the other guy's too fucking heavy. So he wants a rehydration clause. You're right.
You're right, though. Amir should retire. I kind of should take that back, saying go and make the Brook fight. He probably should retire. Like, from a health point of view, he's going to take some heavy shots in that Brook fight. Like,
I think that Kell Brook and his team, but mainly Brook himself, every time he opens his mouth, have played the public negotiation. They've played it absolutely shocking. Like, they're giving concessions everywhere. He's saying he will come down to 147. Why don't you just stick at the catch weight? Stick with that as your main bargain. He's gave up all of his bargaining tools. I just think it's madness from Kell Brook, and it looks desperate. I mean, Amir Khan is shocking at publicity at the best of times, normally away from the boxing world. But this just fell into Amir Khan's lap. Like, it's amazing how Kell Brook's gone about getting this fight done.
Smitho, talking of poor health, you sound like Bob Fleming at the Fast Show tonight. You're right.
I've not been on the greatest of form, to be honest, Steve. It's I think this is what kids do to you, isn't it? We're bringing in other kids' diseases into the house.
Aye, pretty much. I've got a rugby league question for you coming up soon, so don't get running off too quickly.
Oh no, make it quick. Come on.
What, you want it now?
Yeah, I want it all now, yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Listen to this. Right, I'm going to have to stall quickly to try and bring it up. Right, we've got it here. Chris Ansell is in touch. He said, I've heard Smitho mention a few times in the past that rugby league is one of his guilty pleasures, a niche sport. It has a dwindling fan base. Anyway, so the Rugby Football League is in a desperate attempt to help resurrect the sport, Smitho, have bought in none other than Eddie and Barry Hearn to try and help them do it. I think it's a brilliant idea. They see the packed-out stadiums on box office for Joshua fights and have visions of our small sport being the same. Does Smitho think the Hearns could right the sinking ship that is rugby league? Or if not, would you mind going on a small rant? Go on, Smitho, you got a minute. You got 2 minutes.
I probably don't need that long. I'm the listeners, the guy with the question. Yeah, fair enough. He sounds like he knows more about rugby than me. So I moved up to a rugby area in 2010, and didn't know a thing about rugby at all at that stage. And I fell in love with it. To be honest, I've caught the bug, and I wish that I was up here in my younger days so I could have played, but that won't be happening. It is very much a niche sport, and from the guys who I speak to locally who know a lot more about it than me, it's in trouble at a lot of levels. I did hear that Edward was talking about it. He mentioned it once on a train with Coogan, but that was quite a while ago, and it's gone pretty quiet since then. I just don't know. They've tried a lot of things in rugby league. They've tried a team in London. They've currently got a team in the British League based in southern France. There will be one from Canada based in the British second division next year. So they've tried a few things. They have the cup final at Wembley that this year was the lowest attendance figures ever because the French team were in it and they didn't bring anyone over. And then they had the final yesterday at Old Trafford that always attracts a big crowd, 70,000. I don't know what Edward and the boys could do, to be honest. I really don't. I think it's that much of a niche. Andy will no doubt be thinking at this very moment about the drugs problem that appears to be in the sport.
It's massive.
It's not very much spoken about or tested or proven in the public eye, but it's no doubt happening. Absolutely no doubt. But yeah, I mean, it's just the attendances just aren't there. I mean, Wigan is a rugby town through and through, really, and they will only have a half full stadium for all games, maybe except for 2 or 3 a year. So it is what it is. At a amateur level and youth level, it's really struggling as well. But that's kind of out of my remit. So I can't see it getting better, and I don't know if even Matchroom Pixie Dust could make it much better than it is.
Thank you, Adam, as always. Moving on to a different.
Can't wait till next week's Rugby League Asylum.
Yeah. Well, I came on. We had NFL, Rugby League. We can cover Brexit if you want. We can cover.
No, listen. Listen, Rob. We've got a good one coming up for you now. This is a good question, just to take us down further into the rabbit hole. Max Stoke is asking you. MJP was wiggling her booty on Twitter last week. Would you do a bootylicious video with MJP and Obanov?
Yeah, absolutely.
Suck your knobber off.
Open off that blouse. Yeah, no, definitely. That's going to be the name of the song. Yeah, I'm down with MJP. Yeah, you know me. Yeah, it could happen. It could happen, definitely, if the money's right.
You know me. Pump your spunk inside me.
Holy shit. That's the... No, that's it. No, that's the fucking pipe dream sat down there.
Rob's got the pen and paper up for the next song there already, boy.
This podcast is about to win a Grammy.
Hey, the Steelers! Go Steelers!
What's that? Dave, is that Cindy Loback? Who's that in the background?
Cindy just took it up trap too.
That's my dad yelling about the Bears.
Oh, your dad taking it up trap too.
Right, Andy. Go on, John.
Hey, Dave, is your dad a Bears fan?
Oh, this is gone.
No, I've lost it
no,
tonight.
He's not. He wants them to lose so that the Packers will be ranked higher in the division.
Piss off, Dave. Dave, sorry, I'm muting you.
Well, me and your dad are not best friends because I'm a Dolphins fan, so we're on the same side for the day.
Wait, come on. Enough of this. Andy, we were talking about Angel Acosta last week. He got a win, second round knockout over Abraham Rodriguez. WBO light flyweight title. Any value?
Oh, mate, guys, even worth getting the dodgy YouTube video. You need to go and see it. Probably the knockout of the weekend. Savage left out by Acosta. So it's really opened up, well, maybe mentioned it after the Japanese card last week. We want to see the Ken Shiro unification fight. There's other opponents there, obviously, like the Butler, Canizales opponents and stuff like that, for example. Taguchi's been mentioned as well. Those three are obviously acceptable opponents, but for Acosta, unless he's got any mandatory defences coming up, which I don't think he might have, I want to see him in like Shiro, Canizales or Butler. If you want me to make an absolute pick, if I was a matchmaker, I want to see the Ken Shiro fight. Two guys, roughly about the same age, peak for peak, titles on the line, and you're probably going to get nobody really kind of class as a true world champion, but you'll be kind of like for quarters away there, having a unified, undisputed light flyweight champion for the first time since when. Ricardo Lopez probably. So
That's a long time, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time. Late 90s, early 2000s.
Great fighter, yeah. Rob, Thursday the 18th of October, Jason Quigley returns 14-0. He's in against Freddie Hernandez. A lot talked about Quigley. You always hear him linked to the big names, the big fights. Doesn't quite come off. Is his career in danger of stalling, Rob? Is Freddie Hernandez the type of opposition you want to see him going in with right now?
Yeah, I think so. I think Jason's had an injury, hasn't he? He's had a hand injury that he had to come back from, and then he's had to change the coach as well. I was only thinking about him today, actually, and kind of, thinking about his activity level. I agree with you. We definitely need to see him out more. He has all the attributes, world level at amateur. He seems to be driven by the business side of it. He got offered a good deal to stay amateur with the high performance, and he turned it down to go pro and go to America. So I have a lot of admiration for fighters like that when they're going after the prize. Like, you know what I mean? He was like, I have to go and earn a living. Like, I'm not staying on a performance grant. Like, I'm going to go and learn and play my trade when I'm young. Like, and he's learned over in the States. He's with England now, isn't he? Like, so
yeah.
I hope he's not taking any nasal sprays or anything. You know what I mean? Yeah, any Vicks Vapor up. Like, leave that alone, Jay. I hope for Jason Quigley as a professional. I think he's got a lovely style. Obviously, he has to move up in opposition in the next year or so, really, if he wants to get into contention. Middleweight division, as bad as it is in a historic terms, it's still a pretty live division. Like, you got good fighters there. Like, I don't know, has he got anything to trouble Charlo or any of those guys coming up? Derevchenko or whatever, if he gets past Jacobs. So, but I think he's got the ability to be in the mix down the line. He's one of like we talk about Ritson and Quigley. To me, there's a big disparity there in a big talent division in favor of Quigley. I think he's got more ability, and I think he's the more likely type of fighter to go and operate at world level. So, I'm a fan of Jason, and he's fought well. Even in the fight where he broke his hand early, he showed a bit of a dog in him, and it would have been a good learning experience. Kind of reminded me of the fight where Andy Lee lost to Vera the first time out, where he's expected to just steamroll the guy, and then all of a sudden the guy's not going away. Like, and he came through it even with a hand injury. So
Quigley Tapia, are you talking about?
Yes. And he came through that. And Tappy was tough operator, like, and he came there to win. He definitely didn't come to lie down, like. So he's had experience of fights like that, so that should stand him in good stead. So I'm excited for the future for Quigley, but time will tell. And like you said, he has to be more active, like.
Gabe, sticking on a middleweight theme, one person we always hear about possibly fighting Golovkin is Ryota Murata out in Japan. He's fighting in Las Vegas next Saturday evening, defending this WBA middleweight trinket. Only one loss for Murata, which I think was to Ndam. He's going in against Rob Brant, who's obviously come down after losing to Bramer in the World Boxing Super Series. Also on the undercard, Maxim Dadashev is fighting Antonio DiMarco. Forget about that. Tell me about Murata Brant. Decent fight, Gabe?
Well, for me, I like anytime I get to watch Murata. I don't know that I would call him the best of the best. And as you said, his belt is a trinket. One loss to what's his face with 14 names. Who was it again?
Hassan and Dam and G-Cam.
Yeah. There's a reason why I can't remember that.
Had the 4 names.
Hassan. That one loss was debatable. I don't think he lost, and that's the reason why they had a rematch. So he's a solid fighter, and it's kind of unusual to see a guy like him. I don't know, the way he's been brought along, I think it's a bit safe, and I don't think that he'll be one of those fighters that takes over the division, to be honest. Great fighter, good fighter, solid guy, but I just don't see him taking over the division. So this fight should be a win, and it should set up bigger things. And as you see it as it goes along in his career, he should have more fights like these that'll help him work his way up to a world title challenge and so on and so forth, because it's pretty evident to me that while he is a really good fighter, that he's missing something to make him top level, top of the top. And when I'm watching the fights back and stuff, I can't explain to you exactly what it is. He just seems to be missing a little something. So I'm excited to see it because, being from Japan, he has had some fights out that way that we haven't got to see over here. Aside from I think a few early fights whenever Aaron was doing the cards over in Macau, China. So I'm excited to see it. I'll watch the card for sure. And then with DeMarco on the card, you know, he's past it. He's way past it. I really don't think he should be fighting. He had that retirement already. So for him, I'd rather not watch him fight anymore. But, you know, to be fair, he's always one of those guys that could put on a good show, could put on a good fight. So I think the card is not going to be anything super spectacular, but it should be a solid night of action.
Gabe, you're slightly losing something as well, as in words every now and again. Just drop, I don't know whether you want to reconnect, just dropping in and out, slightly robotic at times. So just wanted to make you aware of that. Hey to Dave Loback, let's go on to you, sticking with the middleweight theme. I will be in attendance in Boston next week at the TD Garden, which reminds me, actually, I don't think I'm going to be able to be on next week. I suppose we'll have to discuss that and sort out a replacement, Dave. It could be you, because I'm going to be flying home at that particular time. Tell me about the card itself. Demetrius Andrade was supposed to win against Billy Joe Saunders. He's fighting, I haven't practiced this, Walter Kortondokwa, a Namibian. I think he's 17-0 with 16 knockouts or something like that. Anyway, Dippo Osho is in charge talking about Billy Joe Saunders, Dave. He said Frank must be losing his mind while Eddie is pissing himself. He gets another world champion to milk for his cards without having to beat the talented Billy Joe Saunders. I do like Billy Joe, but no denying he's a complete and utter cunt. So this has to be karma for the millions of fucked up things he's done. What do you think about that, Dave? The Hater Loback? I tell you what, it's fallen sweet for Eddie, hasn't it, this Billy Joe vacating or whatever, you know, jumping before he was pushed. Demetrius Andrade's pretty much going to pick up the title. You've got Danny Jacobs against Derevchenko coming the week after. Eddie's the king of the middleweight division at the moment.
So, well, technically Oscar is, but does Eddie have Andrade now?
Well, he seems to, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know, like, as far as like how much sway over him he has, but this I just knew that something would happen to ruin this really good middleweight matchup. And of course it does. Pissed off. Fuck Billy Joe. I just, even though it's probably not even his fault this time, he deserves nothing good coming his way. This is setting back. I mean, no one really wins. Eddie Hearn, I guess he can cheer about it, but this is not a good win. This is not going to be a good win for Andrade. It's not really going to help his career along massively, aside from getting him a paper trinket. Just from our perspective as more of the purest boxing fans, do we really care about Andrade picking up this belt? I don't. I mean, it'll help him negotiate other fights, possibly. We'll see what happens from here on. But as far as I'm concerned, this October matchup is totally meaningless. I don't care what belt he gets. And Billy Joe, you can almost write this guy off now. His career is stagnated so many times. He has a good moment, then just falls into obscurity again. This is a big, huge, devastating blow for him. Nobody wins. It just sucks.
It does sound quite devastating to hear you talk, Dave. I don't think it's quite as bad as that. If he can get cleared, get fit again, all big ifs, I know, Dave, he can surely come back and be a player, can't he? I don't think it's completely as bad as you make it out for Saunders.
I don't care. I hope he gets iced.
By who? Who's he going to fight? By Massachusetts State Commission?
I think Andre would have beaten him, honestly. And that's what's most irritating, because I think he has a good style for a good kryptonite to Billy Joe's slick boxing. It's just like a longer, rangier slick boxer, probably more athletic as well. So I think he would have beaten him. And that it's annoying to me, because Andrade needed that big name on his resume to build some momentum in his career. And now he hasn't got it. It would be nice to see Billy Joe get iced by some like average bum.
I don't think he would have lost. Everyone writes off Saunders. You know, they wrote him off against Lemieux. They write him off against people, and he keeps winning. So I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Smido, let's go over to Brentwood. I know you're going to be absolutely gripped watching this one. Gary Corcoran against Johnny Garton, vacant British welterweight title. More interestingly, Smido, Anthony Yarde, 16-0. He's going in against Walter Gabriel Sequeira, the very one. Dippo Osho was in touch again, Smido. What do you think about this? Dippo's, this was in relation to Anthony Yarde. He was doing an IFL video interview, I think. I don't hate on people, says Anthony. talking about an offer that was made to Frank Buglioni, etc. Anyway, Dippo jumps in relation to Anthony Yarde, Smid, and he said, this guy is a fucking simpleton. He has no clue what is going on in boxing, let alone his own weight division. That either absolute ignorance and stupidity or supreme confidence. For me, it's the former. Not a fan of Yarde, it's fair to say. Dippo Osho, what do you think, Smid?
Steve, can you predict what words are going to be included in this answer? No, I'm serious. It's not a casual comment. It's just something that I say regular.
Knockout, boulder tits,
delivery, and expectation.
Yes,
Delivery and expectation. So Frank Warren, whenever it was back end of last year, we're going to fight a top 10 guy. They fought Norbert Nemespati or whatever his fucking name is, right? Sedge Lotka, I've been convinced by Ozzy that I was wrongly critical of that fight, and that was a decent enough fight. But he's fighting someone who I've never heard of again, Steve. He's fighting some fucking bloke from Argentina that's got 4 losses on his record. Like, and he's been fighting in gyms. Like, what is the point?
But the thing was, Smido, the IFL video, the headline was all about offering Buglioni £120,000. Why are they constantly going after Buglioni all the time? Why don't they go after Johnson or Burton or one of these other ones? It's all, whenever you hear anything about this step up, it's always Buglioni, because they obviously see him as being chinny and beatable. Why don't they fight somebody else?
Because he sells tickets, 2, he can take a bit of a beating, and 3, Warren wants to fucking do him because he left him.
At the time,
allegedly on that one. Sorry.
All of that's true, what Andy's just said. At the time, Burton had been beaten by Buglioni. So Frank was saying, why do we want Burton? Because he's just lost. We want the winners to fight winners. Since then, obviously, Buglioni's lost. Things have moved on. This, to be fair, is one of the most stacked divisions in the country, you could argue, in the UK. We've got Yarde, Johnson, obviously we saw Buatsi last night. We've got Buglioni, Burton, even Jake Ball and Summers we've seen knocking about on Matchroom cards, and then you could even go as low as Craig Richards as well. I mean, I don't really know what to think of Yarde. Like, he looks impressive, obviously, or when it's going his own way, but he might have the Lewis Ritson syndrome. Like, he might just be a flat track bullet easily. And as Andy will no doubt be thinking again, if he's carrying a lot of weight around and a lot of muscle, we've mentioned that before. It could all go up in smoke. And to be honest, I mean, this ain't just like a this year problem. Like, we've been talking about Anthony Yarde stepping up for about 18 months now, and he still hasn't done it properly. Like, like I say, his best performance was Sedge Lotka, but other than that, I mean, no one really cares what he's done. So yet again, Anthony Yarde is fighting someone in a 10-rounder this weekend that we've never heard of. Yet Frank Warren's going on about that he's the best prospect in his stable, and he's a world operator, and he's ranked number 3 with the WBO.
They'll say, Smido, that people pulled out. Wasn't this the 4th or 5th choice? Do you remember, like, Shawnee Monahan was supposed to come over?
Possibly, Steve. But stop using that as an excuse. If people are pulling out and are reluctant to fight him, guess what? They want more fucking money. We'll put your hand in your pocket then. That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to put your hand in your pocket, or you're going to have to make a jump over the water and fight Edwards, mates. But that ain't going to happen. So there's no one in Frank's stable for Anthony Yarde to fight. Edwards got all the other guys in the division at British level tied up. So you're going to have to put your hand in your pocket. It's simple. And obviously they're not doing that. And it's a shame, because I want to see how good Anthony Yarde is. Because we see his little highlight reels and he looks decent. And, he's a big specimen, and he's floored a few people, and, he's got a bit of a following down south. But let's find out how good he is. But currently, in the last 18 months or so, I've not really got any yardsticks to tell me how good he is. So, as a result, I'm not interested. And I also don't give a fuck about Gary Corcoran.
Smido's looking for Anthony Yardsticks. He doesn't care about Corcoran either. Talking about BT putting their hands in their pockets, Humble Mike did actually make a good comment. There was a slight delay to the Wilder Fury roundtable because it was coming on after the Speedway, and a load of people apparently were going mad about this. Humble Mike said, funny all the spastics saying this wouldn't happen on Sky when live boxing has been delayed loads, including once by Federer and once by a Swindon match going to extra time, as well as the gloves are off being delayed by football. Humble Mike is making a good point that I've made before as well. I wouldn't necessarily put BT Sports down completely. Also, last week, let's tidy something up as well. Nathan Shaw asked a question about guys who got a lot of losses, knockout losses early in their career, but still aspired to something in and around world level. We managed to rumble up a few, didn't we? Aaron McKenna, I just attributed a first name to you there, Mr. McKenna. Rung Vizai, a good shout out for the question. He said after several knockouts, he got to world level. He lost his first 2 pro fights by KO. Also, Jeremy Hitchcock jumped in with some good ones. Freddie Pendleton, excellent shout. Roger Mayweather as well. And also the pick of the bunch from Jeremy, Armand Picar, got knocked out 8 times before he got a world title shot in 1994 against Julio Cesar Vasquez in Las Vegas. Vasquez, I believe, beat Ronald Winky Wright at one point as well. Anyway, Picar got a shot despite having lost 8 times by 4 times by knockout out of 8 losses. Right, let's pop that to one side.
One we forgot about.
Go on, Rob.
Knockout loss early. Manny Pacquiao.
Yep, there you go. Severely weight drained, wasn't he? But still, yep, got knocked out.
Young guy and drained it away, but yeah, got knocked out.
Body shot. Was it not that Malcolm Conceição or something like that?
Tronasau, was it him? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might have been him, yeah.
Ristico Torrecampo was one of them.
There you go, Dave, dropping the knowledge. It's all gone quiet in your house, Dave. What's happened there?
That's when it was. Malcolm had actually went on to become the titleist. I think he might have knocked out the guy that knocked out Pacquiao. Sorry, I might have got that one wrong.
No problem, don't worry. Colin Cooper jumped in. He said, is Ashley Theophane the Prince Patel of Ghana? He fought on the 28th of September on Friday, which was a couple of weeks ago, I think. He fought for a vacant WBO interim Africa title with another fight scheduled for the 1st of December. Yep, happy to get on board the Theophane train, especially the vacant WBO interim Africa title. Rob, we were talking about Demetrius Andrade against Mr. Kortundokwa earlier. Tevin Farmer, that's the fight I'm going over for, against James Tennyson. Farmer, not much of a puncher, but he is fast, he is skillful. You could see him giving Tennyson the runaround like other fighters have done, the likes of Declan Geraghty. But the thing is about Tennyson, he's matured, he's experienced, and he's got a punch. If he can find Farmer, this could become interesting.
Yeah, don't see him finding Farmer though. I think Farmer's going to be too slick for him. He's on a bit of a run at the moment. Robbed in a title fight, avenged that. Desperate for a Tank Davis fight, world title holder now. I'd like to see him against the main man, King Kong Carroll, down the line. I think that'll be a cracking fight. I think John will probably bring something more to it than Tennyson. No shots at Tennyson. But I'd say wide UD for Tevin Farmer that night.
I was talking earlier in the week, Rob, to Mark McCulloch, and he made an interesting point. He said that a lot of Tennyson's work is around blowing up in weight and being a lot bigger than the opponent. But given that it's an IBF title fight, he's not going to be able to blow up as much, and that might be a factor possibly.
Yeah, rehydration clause. And I just think he might be just a little too green for Farmer. Farmer looks very seasoned. I know he had a couple of L's early, but looks like he looks very seasoned, and he seems to be in his prime. And I would give him the edge and say, yeah, wide victory for Tevin Farmer that night.
Andy, I want to ask you about Rodriguez Maloney, Junior Dortico, Masternak in a minute, but I want to give you a place as well on Demetrius Andrade against Walter and also Tennyson Farmer. What do you think?
Well, I'm not really all that interested really in the Andrade fight. It's like Katun Doc, whatever you fucking call the guy. I agree with what Rob's saying. Farmer, I do expect him to be too slick for Tennyson. I did notice that Tommy Coyle and Kid Galahad are on that card, so Scott Quigg as well. Apparently, he must have kind of slipped in the kind of lakes. I never seen that one actually.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other card you mentioned, mate?
That's a good question. Emmanuel Rodriguez looking impressive against Paul Butler. Jason Maloney, a lot of love for him. I've seen people in the chat, I'm assuming they weren't trolling Andy, saying they think Maloney could beat Rodriguez and maybe give Inoue a bit of trouble. From what I've seen of Rodriguez, which is limited, I really like the look of him. Haven't seen anything in Maloney.
I've seen the Kono fight, but at the end of the day, Kono's like way past his prime, been in a lot of wars, took a few L's. That, to be honest, he hadn't really been he had been stopped, I suppose, in the past off Inoue, and I think it was one like way early in his career and stuff. But he'd retired in that fight. Took a basically was advice to that. I think it was advice to the doctor actually. badly cut or something. But Maloney, I've not really kind of started to kind of see it. He might show it in this fight, but to be honest, for what I've seen of Rodriguez against Butler and stuff like that, we did pick up the fact he wasn't letting the right hand go and stuff. So you just wonder if there's maybe a wee bit of issue with the right hand there. But I think, to be honest, just based off of what I've seen, and I need to go back. Honestly, it's a poor preview, but I will have to go with what I've seen and I'll go with Rodriguez here. As for the who's Master Night fighting again?
Junior Dortico. I picked to win the last Cruiserweight tournament, but Andy, I also picked Mr. Robot to win the super middleweights, so discard everything I say.
Well, I know, but you're good at other things, Steve. But in the end of the day,
Really?
well, that's what your wife says anyway. But no, well, it's going to be an interesting fight. Obviously, Dortico's been in with some good fighters. Obviously, Kudryashov was a really good knockout. Gazaev, it was a great fight, close fight, competitive all the way through it until the end. And he's got the win against Kalenga that I think I maybe picked to win the distance, and he turned that late. So he's put up a decent, especially the kind of later half the last few years. That he's put on a few decent oppositions on his record. Masternak always been over the course of the record, hasn't he? He's always been kicking about. Obviously, Johnny, I think he'd been to South Africa. Johnny Miller's like a kind of steadfast, kind of stalwart in South African boxing.
Did Bellew beat Masternak?
Yeah,
Am I remembering?
Bellew beat him. I seem to recall maybe Bellew dropping him in this fight. It was another fight that went kind of close to the cards. Remember the Russian who was getting highly touted at one point, Grigor Drozd. He stopped him pretty late. That was a good fight.
Oh, yeah.
Another close fight. I remember that one being on one of the.
I think his Euro level, Andy, maybe Fringe World.
That's exactly what I was gonna. That's what I was kind of going with this. Trying to kind of say he's beat like a kind of like old Monmouth, and he's been to South Africa, and he's been to the UK, and he's got like the Ismail Schillers in his record, Kalenga as well. So Eric Fields has been round about the block a couple of times as well. So as you say, European level, I think Dortico, provided he hasn't took too much out of him from that Gazaev fight, I expect Dortico to win this fight. I'll go in points. Masternak is generally tough, but you just never know on Boxing Day. He could maybe turn it with one punch, and Dortico's usually as tough. He has got the right hand as well. So we'll maybe say I'll maybe go with Dortico kind of late knockout. Providing that it's probably going to be kind of points for him as well, but I expect him to win it.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe Dortico might knock him out in the middle rounds. I think Masternak might have gone over the hill and he's coming down the other side now. I have a question for you in a minute, Smido. Just before we get to that, Guy Griffiths was in touch talking about DAZN. We're on about Anthony Joshua's numbers and that. I wanted to bring some clarity to DAZN, says Guy. I'm in Switzerland and I'm able to use it. Think there is a misconception that boxing is a big part of its portfolio. It really is not. DAZN has lots of Premier League games, La Liga, Champions League, US Sports, darts, etc. It consolidates what people would get on Sky or BT or some pay-per-view for about 10 quid a month. So in terms of the quality of the Matchroom cards, it's not that important to DAZN as boxing is not their main selling point. So thanks to Guy Griffiths for clearing that one up. Smido, our Patreon subscribers are in touch. These are rolled over questions from last week. Don McNamara, always good for a question. He said, what fights from the past, Smido, do you wish you were at after seeing it and the atmosphere? So which fights have you seen, how great it was, how good the fight was, how good the atmosphere was, and wish you were there? Dom has thrown in 3 here. He wishes he was at Hatton versus Sue, Gonzalez versus Quadras, and Naz versus Barrera. What about you, Smith?
Oh, fuck me. I don't know. It's not something I really measure, Steve, when I'm watching it. I don't think, great atmosphere. I wish I was there for great fights, but not necessarily great atmospheres. I don't really measure that with.
So fuck the listeners and fuck the question, basically, Smith.
No, I'm trying to answer it, Steve. They'll only be personal to me. Not necessarily for atmosphere, but fights I wish I was at, and I should have been at. Froch only fought Kessler, but the Ash Cloud did me as it did Froch. So I had tickets for that and couldn't make it. I don't know. I'm a bit stumped by the question. I mean, I've been at some fights with fantastic atmospheres, as I'm sure quite a few of us on here have. Froch Butte was the most intense atmosphere I can remember personally, because there was so much riding on it for Froch. He'd just come off the back of a loss to a Ward. Was he finished? Was Butte the next big thing? And I just remember standing there, and I was physically shaking. I think before the start of the fight, I was so nervous. But yeah, and obviously the euphoria that followed that. On the back of the nerves beforehand, made it a great one.
I was gonna say, yeah, no problem. I'll bring in Gabe actually. Gabe, I'll ask you the same question because I was watching Bradley Skeet against Mr. Lejaraga out in Spain, and I was thinking to myself, imagine if you were in that arena and they're all surging forward towards the ring and it's all going completely bonkers. You know, what would you do? Sort of sitting at ringside trying to get out the road. What about you, Gabe? Any fights from history that you have a look at and think, oh, I would have loved to have been there. It would have been great.
Fights where I would have loved to have been there live for it?
Yeah, mate. Say like Peter Quillen against J. Leon Love. Did you watch that on telly and think, I would have loved to have been there?
Oh, man, there's tons of them I could think of. I would have always liked to have seen a Mikkel Kessler fight live in Denmark. Or is it Denmark where he used to fight a lot?
Yeah, it's Denmark. I would not have expected you to say that, Gabe, out of all the ones you're going to come up with.
I just said it because I've been on a kick lately for those. It just seemed like it might be a fun place to go watch a fight. You know, I mean, I consider name off tons of them, but it would probably just be almost like a list of my favorite fights.
What about this one then, Gabe? Tommy Hearns has thrown in Riddick Bowe against Galotta for the scrap afterwards.
Nah, I don't know. Maybe, I guess. I don't know.
Lou Duva's been hurt. Lou Duva's in trouble.
I was thinking more of like the atmosphere of the place. I would love to go to oh Christ, now I forgot the name of it. Where are they fighting? At the O2. At the O2. I would love to go fight at the O2. Just because I've never traveled over there. So seeing, I wouldn't care what it was. It was a massive fight. Because to me that would be really cool, a really cool venue or place to see. Something good at the Forum would have been cool to see.
What about when the fan man came in, Gabe?
What's that?
What about when the fan man came into the ring? Would you like to have been sitting there and the fan man landed on your head?
During Bo Holyfield.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it seemed like it killed the vibe. I mean, it would have been obviously pretty cool to see something weird like that. But it seemed like it took so much out of what was going on that it just kind of sucked a little bit of the life out of stuff to me out of the fight. You know what I mean? Like, trying to imagine places and fights that were good. Like I said, I mean, of course, the top fights that I'd love to see would be something, but I'm thinking more atmosphere and places where people just kind of go ape shit, you know. And so that's what I'm thinking of right now with these. I would have been, like I said, it would have been interesting, but I don't know that would be my top pick. So I would say something big at the O2 would be something that I would like to see.
Yeah, editing king in the chat says Chavez Horgan. That would be a good one. Question for you, Rob, on a different track, but going back into history. I know you like these. John Heaton, Patreon subscriber. Shout out to John. He said 2 great fights that never happened. I always hit you with these, Rob. What do you think? 2 great fights that never happened. First of all, Marvelous Marvin Hagler against Mike McCallum. What do you think about that at middleweight, I'm assuming?
I think at that stage of his career, McCallum probably had definitely the ability to beat Marvin Hagler. I think Mike McCallum was a very underrated middleweight, like great body work, obviously from his nickname, the Body Snatcher. And no, he was in some classic fights himself, so I think he would have given Hagler a good run for his money. I'm not sure about a prime Hagler. I think a prime Hagler might have just had too much for him in a close fight, maybe over 15 rounds as well. Hagler was, he used to come on strong late in fights and stuff like so. A true warrior, legend of the sport. It would have been a great fight. That's all I can say about it. It would have been a great fight. But prime Hagler probably beats him when they were due to fight. I'd say McCallum might have had the edge.
And what about Leonard against Pryor? Sugar Ray Leonard against the Hawk?
That's an interesting one because you can kind of read too much into body language and stuff when you're looking at fighters. And I don't know, maybe Andy might even know a bit more about this than me. But any footage I've seen of when Pryor was calling for Leonard looked like he didn't want that smoke with Pryor. Like, Pryor obviously had the questionable drugs issue in the Arguello fight. with the bottle, the mystery bottle, and all that. Like, so do we put a bit of that into his record or whatever? But he was a tremendous fighter, and Leonard was, to me, like I said before, him and Roy Jones are the best that I've seen in my lifetime. Like, I think in terms of just ability, and Leonard was a finisher too. And look, he beat Wilfred Benitez, he beat Tommy Hearns, so there's nothing to me to suggest that he wouldn't have beaten Aaron Pryor. So I think Leonard, I think I'd give Leonard the edge in that one as well.
Cheers, Rob. Rappimod Kelly's on the call. Gabe Lewis as well. We've lost Adam Smitho-Smith. You're listening to the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. We're on to episode 295. I'll not be here next week. We're going to have a surprise host. You'll have to wait and see. It might be Andy Patterson. It might not be. It might be Hater Dave Loback. Who knows? Gabe's
Fucking
with us.
won't all be, I can guarantee you that.
I'll give you a full rundown of the Packers game next week.
You're fucking hole, you will. You'll be hosting it, because I've got no chance in believing that Gabe's internet is going to hold up.
It's training corn.
That was a good test.
He's back to rough.
Case in point proven. Dave, you're taking over.
All right, I'll think about it.
There we go. Cheers, boys. Final question.
Just fucking do it.
Dave, you're the man. You can do it. Final question from Ryan Deal. This is a technical one, says Ryan. So if anyone from the panel wants to jump in, or we might ask our listeners, especially the ones who box, amateur, pro, whatever, might be able to help us on this one. Ryan says, a bit of a technical question. Which fighters display the best defense for a straight right hand? This is my weakness, says Ryan. So I could do with a few examples to learn from. So get on YouTube, everybody, or anybody on the panel got anything to suggest on this one. Which fighters display the best defense against a straight right hand? Ryan wants to improve his defense against the straight right hand.
Floyd.
What do you think, Andy? Floyd?
Fucking look at Floyd. Look at Floyd. Sorry, I was going to say, look at what Floyd did against Marquez. The pull counter. Just pull back, came in with the right hand, ducked underneath it. But then again, you're no black, so you can't pull it off. You've not got the rhythm. You've not got the movement.
Also, he had significantly bulked up Marquez, missed weight himself, had the size advantage.
Oh, come off it, man! I'm still saying it was still a great shot.
It's very pretty highlight there, but it's not that.
He pulled it off against Canelo as well, and I'm sure he did it against McGregor at one point. Like, put a lot of stock in that one. Like, it's a
good example though, because you look at people who particularly tried to beat him with right hands over the top. De La Hoya couldn't do it, couldn't really find him with it. Cotto had moments of success against him. Maidana, right hand over the top, like he's a straight right hands, clubbing right hands, hooks. He seemed to be able to kind of matrix all of them.
The jab was a problem for Floyd. If you put the jab in his face, he would have been fucking. I mean, well, it's a pure example, but if you had like someone like, say, a Tommy Hearns, for example, his jab, but there is no way Floyd's beating him with that jab, man. That's just not happening.
No, I don't. Yeah, and that's why I say, like, he's definitely not TBE. If you're going to say TBE, it's probably the best of his era, like, but not like the guys in the 80s would have all given him absolute mare, every one of them.
And switching stances as well, Andy. Chukwu mentions in the chat Corey Spinks.
Oh man, Corey Spinks. Oh fuck, guy. Who's it he fought again for the title? I forget. Didn't he fight Cassie
Mayorga, wasn't he? Wasn't it Mayorga? Didn't he beat Mayorga?
Am I getting that mixed up? And who the hell am I thinking about that fought Kassim Uma? Is it him?
Kassim Uma. No, Kassim Uma fought. I know he fought Roman Karmazin.
Yeah, that's.
Karmazin beat him, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. But I honestly think Corey Spinks was.
Judah beat Spinks, I think. I think Spinks took the title off Mayorga, who had taken the title off Forrest.
And Bunbridge was running about there as well, wasn't he? At some point.
Spinks was bad to watch, wasn't he?
Oh man, Jesus, he was. Steve, every time you mention that name, Corey Spinks, I just shudder, man. Even the smell of a monkey clam could make me shudder like that, man. Jesus Christ, he was awful.
Right, hey to Dave, talking to manky clams, let's get on to our final point of the night. John O'Donovan has sent in it was an interview done to Boxing Social from Eddie Hearn. Eddie said on Boxing Social, the overwhelming feeling of the public is to make the Derek Chisora fight. Eddie Hearn says Dillian White is most likely to face Del Boy Chisora next, and it's the fight the British public want. John O'Donovan is asking you, hey to Dave, as a member not of the British public, is this the fight you want, the rematch between Dillian White and Del Boy Chisora, above all else, Dave?
Name me one person who fucking wants to see that fight, who wanted to see that fight, who even claimed to see that fight.
Well, the first one was really good. I think they should have made it already, honestly. I think it's a little late for it now. I think they should. I think that they can go different places. I'd rather see him. I'd rather see Dillian White try his luck against someone. It's hard, there's nothing against Chisora, but I want to see Dillian Whyte try his luck against somebody better and in more of his prime than Chisora is right now. So let's see. The Dillian Whyte versus Luis Ortiz. Let's see that. The one that Eddie claims no one wants to see, despite poll results telling him otherwise. I'd rather see that, honestly, than a rematch between Chisora. Although that said, I did think Chisora beat Whyte, but Chisora, I mean, the guy, he's fun to watch at times. Obviously, he's sometimes in some of the worst fights you've ever seen, but I just think he's too inconsistent for this to be a good matchup, honestly. I would rather see Whyte head upwards, and this seems like sort of a delaying tactic. While the division sorts itself out, Eddie doesn't want to take too many chances because Whyte has really made himself into a pretty big name. He's become popular with a lot of fans, and he's proven himself to a certain degree against a fairly reasonable level of opposition. Parker was a big win for him. So Dillian Whyte should probably be moving up. I think it's a deliberate delaying tactic. Hearn expects him to come through this, beat Chisora, even if it's close again. He'll get that decision, and then he can put Whyte in with someone who's been exposed instead of putting him with a question mark.
There you go. Dillian Whyte's moving on up, according to Hater Dave Lowback. Let's move on up and move on out with the belly of the weeks. There's some crackers this week. You're going to enjoy this, everybody. First of all, Oscar De La Hoya was tweeting, maybe under the influence, during the Khabib-Conor McGregor fight. And then the next morning, Oscar obviously regretted it. We've all had those mornings, haven't we? When we wake up, you ultimately regret things. Thankfully, Twitter wasn't around, Andy, when the likes of us were probably hitting the beer hard. Not a drinking man now, but can you imagine some of the shit he would have put on? Like it would. Oh God, I dread to think.
Fucking Oscar on social media
still
back
do that.
in the day, man. Can you honestly imagine if Twitter was about back in the day? The amount of shagging that man did. Can you imagine if it was about the pictures and the fishnets and the fucking? Oh my word, man! It'd be amazing. You think Oscar's a transsexual or something like that, or a fucking? I don't want to get too deep into it, but you know what I mean. Oscar would be setting the bath, debauchery and fucking the den of iniquity and stuff like that, you know.
Dave, what have you woken up the next morning and regretted?
Let's leave that for next week. Hopefully, next Saturday night I'll be doing it again.
Good man, Dave. Good man. Anyway, Oscar adds an excuse. It wasn't him. My account was hacked. I just want to make sure you're all aware this was not me. Last night was an unfortunate turn of events during one of the biggest and important fights in UFC history. Absolute bollocks. I don't think his account was hacked for a second. Anyway, there was a video going around of Marvelous Marvin Hagler fighting against Mustafa Hamsho. William Detloff said Hamsho was a badass. Everyone generally agreed he was a great fighter. Yusuf jumped in and said Hagler reigned over a terrible division. No fighter gets more undeserved credit than he. Rightly nominated by Callum Neal there. Yusuf went on to say that Hamso was shit. He obviously doesn't watch boxing. Simon Says Wow nominated Caleb Truax for saying that the original Rocky was the best. Belly of the Week, surely it's number 4, says Simon Says Wow. Lestin Venables has nominated Eddie Hearn. No, I think it was Grisham MMA, actually, for talking about Eddie Hearn. I haven't got the screenshot in full. Sorry about that. Johnny Clash 1 has nominated Tariq for talking shit about AJ against Wilder. Eddie Hearn was talking, I'm on the train. Ping over your question, says Eddie. Mark Richards jumped in. Was you behind Billy Joe Saunders? Getting done for drugs, obviously, which might have his belt took off him and get him banned. You know people in high places, Eddie. I bet if he was one of your boxers, nothing would have happened. Money equals power equals corruption. Mark Richards is on to Eddie. John nominated Mark for that. Andrew has nominated Chrissy 76. Naz was crap. Amir Khan would have smashed his head in, says Chrissy. What else have we got? Babs has nominated Russ for talking about Tony Bellew against Alexander Usyk.
Oh, Russ with the fucking billboard.
No, this is Russ_Beer. You can tell that one in a minute. Hang on. This is Russ_Beer. He said, going to be an epic, absolutely epic fight. I'm expecting a Cruiserweight AJ Klitschko fight. Flows and ebbs, tosses and tumbles, turned on one punch. At the end, I expect the bomber to have his hand raised. I just check his pulse is still going, maybe. What do you think, Andy? What were we talking about there?
Remember Russ took out a full-size, street-size billboard outside Bramall Lane in Sheffield. I don't know what he's doing. He's basically got his face on it with Eddie Hearn saying he's like ducking like the most legit questions in British boxing. I mean, listen, that is no cheap. I don't care who you are by, but that's a shitload of money you got to fucking fork out for that pish. And there's no way you're going to get it on like sale or return or anything like that. You got to pay for it there and then. That's council-owned property, so there's nobody fucking saying you're going to be getting that deal or getting half price. Trust me on that.
All right, fair play to Russ. I actually thought that was quite funny. He's calling out Eddie. Eddie has yet to respond. Ben Thorns has been talking at WBC Boxing. They said Klitschko versus Valiev. Who wins this fantasy matchup? Belly of the week for the WBC, says Ben. If they can't work out the winner of this fantasy matchup, yes, I think it's fair to say Vlad probably would have beaten the beast from the East. Kenny Keith was talking about DeGale versus Eubank Jr. on ITV pay-per-view. Awkward pillow fight on an iPhone feed. Boxing and MMA poll said both would beat any active American 168-pound fighter. Boxing Boy 84 nominated him. Bradley Lobo was one of many to nominate Billy Joe Saunders, talking to Chris Eubank. In fact, you could nominate both of them, really. Billy Joe Saunders said to Eubank, "You will never win a world title belt. Your British level tops. Steps up, gets banged every time you bum. Go play with your dad's knob." Chris Eubank Jr. responded by saying, "I've already won a world title."
That was, no, but mate, listen, you've got to go back to the real part of that story. The funny
I
part
already have.
Go on, then, exactly. No, well, Dave just said it there.
Well, the tweet and Billy Joe's tweet ended with "Go play with your dad's knob," and I don't think Chris read that far because he decided to answer the "Go win a world title" thing instead. So it says, "Go play with your dad's knob." I already have.
I did it without using drugs, and you've been ducking for years, as you know what will happen to you.
You had to take. They had to take it down, Rob, down to the lowest common denominator.
Oh, you could have put it. But it was the way it read.
It's brilliant the way he answered it. Yeah, I already did actually.
Everybody picked up on it. It was fucking brilliant.
Oh man, he stays taking L's. Does Eubank at the highest level? He's not able for Twitter banter with Billy Joe Saunders.
Bit of banter with Chuck Query's back with us. Only joking with you, Jason. We love you, really. Mirror Fighting has been nominated by Callum Neal. Martin Bakole is a new Riddick Bowe in the making. And this is the weekend the world takes notice, says Barry McGuigan. He has a history of making these projections, does old Baz. Bakole didn't turn out to be Riddick Bowe, as we've already mentioned. Anthony Fowler has been nominated by a few people. He was moaning that he wasn't going to be shown on Sky. Jamie Grand, a bit unfair that, mate. You deserve to be higher up the order. Begadinho jumped in. No, he doesn't. Fair enough. Can't argue with that, I suppose. I was gutted, to be honest, says Michael Gott, Andy. Only fight I was interested in. Well done, Anto.
Fuck Anto. I mean, this is the guy who actually did a Paul Smig last night and actually started tweet searching his own fucking name and then quote tweeting people who actually says that he might, didn't want to see him. He's glad they wasn't on TV and all that sort of stuff. Bitter wank.
Now, this is my favourite of the week.
I can't wait for him to step up in levels, man. I cannot wait for him to step up in levels. Listen, if he's this great fighter, why the fuck's he not on TV? Why is he not on Sky Sports? I mean,
yeah, he's Bellew's boy, isn't he? Bellew made the recommendation for him, so why are we not seeing him?
This next one.
Hadn't called him the mini frotch. The mini fucking frotch.
Forget about him, Andy. Don't let him get to you.
I'll do my best, but he's not. I mean, he's just never mind.
Okay. This one's nominated by Danny Robson, Danny Robloski. Now, this is my favourite of the week. This is what Bellew of the Week's all about. This was an absolute cracker. Just a bit of context, actually. The Crystal Palace football chairman, Simon Jordan, was tweeting. And he was getting trolled by someone called Ren, at Dunt Ren. But Dunt Ren had a picture of Dominic Ingle with his top off, looking all, buff and pecs out and what have you. And obviously Simon Jordan didn't know who Ingle was, and he assumed that this troll, Dunt Ren, this was a picture of him. So anyway, that's a bit of context for it. Simon Jordan said, the chairman always used to tell me off for smoking cigars in his boardroom. But let me say, he said to me, you broke every other fucking rule in football. You may as well break this one. Class act. That was Simon Jordan. So Dunt Ren jumps in with a picture of Dominic Ingle, and he says, doesn't really sound like a class act by allowing you to break the fucking law, does he, you fruit shoot? And Simon Jordan, thinking that Duntren is Dom, says, that's when smoking was still permitted in public places, you jug-eared roid rage.
That's when smoking was still permitted in public places. Juggy roid rage ridden buffoon be gone back with the Morlocks.
Holy shit.
Considering the reputation of Ingles' gym, that's gotta hurt.
I don't know why that would tickle me so much, man. I'm fucking crying.
Fucking roid rage ridden.
You jug-eared roid rage ridden buffoon. Be gone back with the Morlocks. Oh man, that was class. That made me laugh last night, and still now. Sorry about that, everybody. That was funny.
Oh, fucking brilliant.
Well done, Danny Robson. That's my one. Like, anyway, let's move on. Joshua Hilton, Belly of the Week. Here we go. This is the classic one. To Kell Brook for saying, has he really lost because he only had 2 broken eye sockets? Has he really lost? He only had 2 broken eye sockets, Andy. John O'Donovan nominated this one as well. Tommy Cahill nominated it too. Has Kell Brook ever lost? That's
yes.
the question. Ross Phillips?
Absolutely, he's fucking lost it. Yeah, of course it does.
Well, if you think about it, I got hit in the face really hard and broke my face. So it's... do you count that as a loss?
It's Kell Brook, Dave, not Dick Van Dyke.
I thought he had a list.
Dave's impressions are fucking unbelievable, by the way. He's the master of a million voices.
I'm going to... well, sorry, Steve, wouldn't you go? If you still got more nominations.
Yeah, I've got a few, sorry. Taylor Mack has nominated the Eubank Jr. thing as well. Nomination from you, Andy, for Sunday Puncher Boxing. Aloyan continues to lead the fight against Tete. Tete needs a KO. 87-83 to Aloyan that had it. Steve Bunce, Bakole's father, an African king, Hunter's father, thrown off a roof by the cops. Right now in the York Hall ring, these two are fighting for pride. Epic stuff. Chad Hogan, he's back, nominated that one. Paddy Barnes has been nominated. Ritson needs this kind of fight, he said. Michael Kearty nominated that. I take it Paddy was talking during the fight, not afterwards. Mark Whitfield, Geordie Golovkin, Belly of the Week, 100%, more triple L than triple G. That's me saying that. Eddie Hearn talking about Putin meeting Khabib. Mad that, Andy. I wonder if Theresa May will have a cuppa on Monday with the Geordie Golovkin after he wins the European title this weekend. Do you think she'll be doing the dancing?
Oh, I mean, Nurmagomedov just beat like the number 1 attraction in the UFC, and Theresa May is going to like blow off fucking Brexit talks to go and speak to Lewis Ritson about a European title defence. Fucking shit.
Which he lost.
Which he lost.
She was strutting out there like returning the Mac to the podium. Hey, Lewis, congratulations.
Nurmagomedov just like destroyed like the guy, jumps over the fucking top rope and decides to fucking slay people in the crowd. This guy's next generation level fucking evil bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
Rob, you need to get Theresa on with you and MJP and Obanov, man, getting in this scene.
Listen, if I had to go through Theresa May, you know what I mean? Someone have to take the L. It might have to be me. A loss doesn't necessarily set you back. You know what you mean?
Jesus Christ, that would be one hell of a loss.
But your final record would be 2-1.
Doesn't define you. It doesn't define you, baby. You get to the top eventually.
Oh dear. Right, a few more here. British Boxing Hub has been nominated by Chad Hogan. What do you reckon to a potential Ritson versus Lomachenko bout down the line? They were saying in September. With work, I think that's a potential big pay-per-view fight. Yeah, with a hell of a lot of work, friggin' hell. Putting up a building type of work there. British Boxing Hub says Garcia in the States would be great exposure and a good way to build his name. Oh, this is class.
I mean, this is who's this guy?
If he beats Mikey Garcia, Andy, in the States, that's a good way of getting exposure and building up his name.
Who? Ritson?
That's what British Boxing Hub was saying about Ritson, yeah. Like Mikey Garcia's a stepping stone now.
He actually said those words.
British Boxing Hub said, you're probably right. Fight Garcia in the States would be great exposure and a good way to build his name. This is before he fights Lomachenko, obviously. I see Ritson being a huge pay-per-view star here for us in the UK. Hopefully 2019 is a big year for him.
Garcia would fucking mutilate him last night. Is he fucking serious?
Could be a good stepping stone, though.
Aye, what was he going to do? Like, fucking Garcia's going to step out, tap him and get out the fucking ring.
Do you remember, Andy, that one back? It reminds me of that one last year when Floyd was fighting McGregor. Somebody said something like, McGregor should have come in and had his tune up against Terence Crawford first.
Oh, I remember that one. Jesus Christ.
The casual was overpowering the day after that fight.
That was absolutely legendary Hall of Fame status. Because imagine what Terence Crawford would have done to Conor McGregor. Holy shit!
Imagine what Lomachenko would do to fucking Conor McGregor, man. He would have a Monte Cristo with a hindsight.
That went pretty well.
I think Loma offered him a sparring session, but then only knocked him back.
And he said, he's a 126-pound man, and I'd hurt him, and this, that, and the third. He's like, yeah, you'd hurt him, all right, dude. Wouldn't be able to hit. If it was two McGregors in there, they wouldn't be able to hit Lomachenko.
Fuck.
Right, Bet365 deserve a nomination, having two 1-100 shots beaten in the space of a few weeks, Eggington and Ritson. Anthony has nominated Wilder, for breaking. Did anybody see this? Breaking the mascot's jaw. That is the most bullshit excuse ever, isn't it?
Absolutely brilliant.
That's fucking brilliant. It was on some sort of Mexican TV station, was it not? I thought he says I didn't even listen to it, but it's like hit him here, didn't hit him up there. Basically, he's just so this Wilder, he hits him up there, fucking ices the guy. You got the 2%ers. And they're like, what the fuck just happened to him?
Immediately he looks on the ground like, oh shit. But like, who was it that said the mascot put up a better fight than Bakole?
That was you just now, wasn't it, Rob?
All right, maybe it was me.
All right, let's get on with this then.
Well,
Billy Nelson.
Just as an add-on to that one there, to be fair to Bomb Squad, he is since saying he did know there was a person in there. I don't know what the headlines are thinking, that he thought it was a robot or something.
He fucking mutilated him, for Christ's sake.
I don't know why he punched that. He says, I sincerely apologize to the brave man that was injured, if this is true. I have instead of saying I have the utmost, he says I have the upmost. High respect for him, his participation, willingness, and courage. If this is true, I personally would like to invite him to my December 1st fight. Word is bond.
Oh my God!
A stretcher.
He's talking about him. He's talking about the mascot as if he's Spilke.
I say you can just see it there. Like, the poor cunt comes out, right, just to make sure he's claiming the lawyers is going to be okay. He comes out with a wheelchair, right. He's got they'll call him Brass Neck because he's got the halo on his fucking head, right, and they'll be feeding him through a fucking straw. Just to fix it up.
No teeth.
No teeth.
He took off the helmet and had a big lump on his head like Lemonade that time.
But it says he'll have the halo on. They'll call him fucking Brass Neck just to fucking top it off. It'll be fucking amazing. But like Vinny Panzienza right at the back,
It's fucking bizarre. What a mad year we're having in boxing. Like, that is a fucking, like, what's next? Like, Billy Joe is fucking getting kicked out of the sport. His karma's coming back to bite him. Deontay Wilder's knocking out the fucking cast of Sesame Street on Spanish television. Like, what the fuck is going on?
That was one of the most credible opponents on Wilder's record, man. I've seen people fall. Right, let's get on, boys. Terry G has nominated Billy Nelson. I was talking about this earlier for calling Hunter a quitter. Said there's no quitting Martin. Nathan Fradgas.
He didn't quit. Technically, didn't quit. He didn't continue.
That's true. Nathan Fradgas has been nominated by Chad Hogan. Shocking. Had Ritson 6 up Eddie Hearn. Fucking disgraceful judges. Max Stoke as well as nominated Eddie as well. Andy, you've nominated boxing legend Barry McGuigan, high on unbeaten heavyweight Martin Bakole. Compares him to Riddick Bowe. I remember whenever Conor Cummings was turning pro and Barry was saying, he beats Saunders now, he beats Eubank now. Yeah, he does like to throw in a bit of the old hyperbole, which is unnecessary at times. Mr. Dermo has nominated Billy Nelson's Twitter account for Value of the Century. Matthew Skelton has nominated Levi Martinez. He had Crawford, the Crawford fight, a shutout at the time of the stoppage against Benavidez. He also had Canelo beating Lara 117-111. So Levi Martinez has been nominated. Capitano has nominated you, Hater Dave, for calling Congo's Martin Bakole a UK hype job. Have you got anything to say in your defence?
Own it, Dave.
Yes.
Accept the mistake. Accept the mistake. You casual.
It's a classic UK maneuver to drop a guy after he's taken a loss. Personally, I'd be happy to. I'd adopt him in the US. I think he's got some upside. Yeah, I mean, Bakole's not done, but the guy was trolling.
He's got some upside. What? Looking up at the lights?
Hey, he didn't get dropped.
He got knocked out. He got stopped.
Do you think on a side note, quickly, anybody think that the fight should have been stopped a bit earlier? He seemed, I don't know, was he ducking? Was he diving? Was he getting hit too much in the corner? Or was it about right?
It was fair enough, I think.
It was
bang on. It was bang on.
I think so. I think if you're looking at it in real time, it looks like he's slipping a lot of shots. And if you look at the replay, then in slow motion, he probably caught one or two more that you didn't see. But ref was bang. Ref caught one on the jaw as well. Like so.
That's right. He did. He showed a good chin. It's usually Badu Jack who knocks the refs out. Anyway, so any other nominations, gentlemen?
Sorry, I was on a wee drinking my what do you call it again? My Glenkeith malt whiskey. Oh, just talking about whiskey. Can we get Conor McGregor's whiskey for a wee bit? By the way,
proper 12, baby.
Yes, I learned this. I only learned this during the week here. Now we're going to get religious here for a wee bit. Not too much, but we'll just mention this for a wee bit, right? So you got Conor McGregor.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going with this.
I never picked up on this. Like, Rob mentioned it last week about the Bushmills and stuff like that. I was like, idiot. Typical non-Irish. Didn't really know. Right. Next minute. I fucking takes a screenshot of fucking Conor McGregor coming off a fucking private plane with a box of proper 12 whiskey, right? There he walks, something like that, bum whiskey. Next minute, I'm getting tweets and stuff like that. Aye, Protestant whiskey. I went, huh? And next minute, I'm getting sent videos on YouTube to The Wire. Big McNulty walking into the fucking bar asking for a Jameson's. Oh, I've made Jameson's, pal. I've only got Bushmills. Is that Protestant whiskey? I was like, what the fuck is Protestant whiskey, right? Now, I find out that apparently it's an Irish slang term. It's an American slang term for, especially for the expats and stuff like that. So, like, if you ask for Jameson's, because it's made in Ireland, it's Catholic. And if it's Bushmills, it's made in the north, it's, obviously it's got to be Protestant. I was like, typical fucking Yanks. So, maybe give me a bill of the week for not knowing about that, by the way. I think Rob... Did you know about that? Yeah,
no, it's a bit deeper than that. It's and it makes it more sickening for McGregor if you expand on it, because in the press conference in the build up to the Khabib fight, he said Khabib said something like, "You can't even speak your own language," which was quite good.
Irish whiskey.
Yeah, and he goes, the McGregor name was banned by King David or King James, one of these kings that was ruling the north, like Protestant ruler, and he founded Bushmills, and the legend goes that an Irish Catholic couldn't get a job there for over 100 years, but it's not really beyond the realms because it's so heavily Protestant. When you look into it, there wouldn't be any Irish Catholics living there anyway. But some US senator picked up on that theme of misinformation. Like, it started running a campaign for Irish bars to boycott Bushmills. So it just makes it like, oh, well, King, my family was fighting King. Yeah, but you're jumping into bed with him now for a pound note. Like, you know what I mean?
I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah. So that's where it comes from. So it's a bit deeper than that. So it's actually a bit of misinformation. It wasn't really a kind of a boycott thing. It would have been a heavily Protestant area anyway. Like, it's up right by the Giants Causeway up there. But the guy that ran Jay-Z's whiskey has gone there, or Jay-Z's brandy too. Say was gone there. I met him at Bleak's wedding, and he's gone there as to help out with the marketing. But like, to me, he needs a win now to sell that whiskey. Like.
Yeah, his whiskey's shite though, but what I'm hearing. Anyway, Steve, I want to put up the lady in. I like a lady in red. My missus will tell you that. But this lady in red, the big jugs with Tyson Fury, and the nipple falls out. There's nothing.
Oh yes, I saw that.
Nothing gives me in the direction like unintentional nudity. By the way.
Yeah. What about Chukwu? He's falling on his sword here. Chukwu. He says he said Okoli would beat Gassiev.
Yeah, Chuck would chat shite all the time on that chat, man. That's the reason why he was timed out by Steve there. But
I don't want to jump in there, but don't want to give the listeners any behind the scenes info. But like, I think we're torpedoing that idea of bringing on a woman onto the panel. The longer we go,
definitely. I want to put up Billy Joe Saunders as well, purely for the amount of cancelled fights he's had. I'll give him like Bursak. Kurtzidze, I'll maybe give him a pass on that one because he got arrested for being a proper G. I mean, talk about Khabib being a proper hard man and like legit man. Kurtzidze is like probably on that same plateau as well. Martin Murray getting cancelled, and now Andrade getting cancelled. So I think we've got to put Billy Joe Saunders up as being like this generation's Joe Calzaghe for like pulling out the fights.
And what I will say as well, in response to what Rob was saying, we've given voices to a lot of female fighters over, recently. If you think about it, Nina Bradley was on tonight. We had Savannah Marshall on. We had Chantel Cameron. We had the matchmaker from America. Do you remember Emily Pandalakis came on?
The Irish lassie who with the Mexican drug testing, remember that one?
Oh yeah, Christina McMahon. Yeah, we had Judy on as well, Rob. Yeah,
Don't forget Judy. Like,
don't forget Judy. Like,
Judy's very busy at the moment because it's the finals of Miss Irish Bikini this week. So if you're on Instagram, you're going to get a sponsored post from every wannabe contestant in the Irish Bikini competition who have to pay their own entry fee, and it's definitely not a big giant scam. It's a legit organisation.
I love the cynicism they fucking Rob there. Like
Bernie Madoff and Judy in bed, and not literally everybody for the lawyers. Right, who's going for what then? Dave, what are your? We've had nominations. Who are you picking?
I'm going to go for Brooke, saying that he's never really, trying to make the argument that he's never really lost because he got busted in the face.
That was a good one. There's a lot of strong ones this week, Andy. Isn't there? I'm going for Simon Jordan, but
I mean, ever since I tossed it for me for Simon Jordan and the one between Eubank and Saunders, and what was it? There was one other one actually. No, but if you're going to keep it really in the kind of boxing sphere, you would probably need to get to Eubank Saunders just for that back and forward. But Simon Jordan isn't really involved in boxing, really, so we need to try and keep it. You know what I mean?
Come on, though, man.
Well, put it this way, right? For a guy who's an absolute casual, right? We're looking at these pictures of Domingo. People like us who are like probably invested in the sport, a wee bit extra than the average fucking businessman who's like a multi-millionaire who does not give a fuck and basically just got an opinion on everything, who doesn't watch boxing, and he's clearly picking out this guy's a fucking right head. I mean, fucking brilliant.
I love the way Duntman calls him a fruit sheet.
Have we had any comment from Mr. Ingle on this yet?
No, I'm sure.
No, it wasn't us calling him jug ears. It was Simon Jordan.
It's deleted. I got a screenshot, so I'm assuming it's since been deleted. I'm assuming someone's made Mr. Jordan aware of his egregious error. But you know, these days you don't get away with anything on Twitter, do you? Gabe, who you going for, Gabe?
Kilbrook.
What about you, Robert?
I think it's very hard to top Wilder. Jordan is classic, but I think Wilder knocking out a fucking guy that's just in the studio probably looks like Rick Moranis under the fucking costume, like against a thump off the fucking guy who's knocked out everybody that he's fought, when you include the Stavern rematch. So that's hard to top for me. Like
a wee dwarfy guy takes his head off, like.
He fucking flew him, like.
What did they shout afterwards? They shout bomb squad after
it. Was like something. It was like something out of a comedy. Look at the back end. Look at his face when the guy hits the deck. He's like, "Oh shit!" Like
it's this woman as well. She puts her hands to her face, and so as the guy walks away like, "Oh fucking hell, dude!"
The funniest thing to make it worse, though, Andy, would be like if you took the costume off and it was like a woman, like a dwarf woman or something.
Oh man!
Or if the child.
Or if the Chris Tucker said, "You got knocked the fuck out, man."
A child, Dave, exactly like a 10-year-old or something in the costume.
You got knocked the fuck out. No, but we need to see pictures. We need to see proof of these pictures, by the way, just so we can just like enhance this Belly of the Week nomination. That would just tip it over the edge. Without question, if you get a picture of this guy,
I don't know.
He's jogging.
Wilder needs it. He definitely needs an assist from the studio producer who thought that was going to be a fucking good idea in the first place. I know what we do. Here, Jose, throw on his costume. You stand in front of Deontay Wilder while he punches you in the mouth.
We should put this. We should definitely part this one just in case, because if this guy gets wheeled out to Tyson Fury gets wheeled out in a fucking wheelchair with a halo on, with fucking sipping soup through a fucking straw, his jaw wired up like fucking like Hannibal Lecter. It'd be fucking amazing just to see this gun coming out. He's coming in his like Johnny Five's short circuit wheelchair. It would be fucking brilliant.
Cast on his leg because he broke his leg in the fall as well.
I can't end this pod, man. I'm having too much fun tonight. I'm enjoying this one. Yeah, Ben's nominated MJP as well for Belly of the Week. Yeah, there you go.
MGP might jump my prick.
Who are we giving it to then, Wilder? Yeah.
I'm starting to watch MJP over the years, because after that whole Billy Joe Saunders thing went down, she video she kind of.
You're breaking up a bit, Rob.
Try again, mate.
You there, Rob?
Sorry. My Wi-Fi was gone there. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the question?
You would make a comment.
Oh yeah, sorry about MJP. I'm warming to her because of after the whole Billy Joe Saunders thing went down, and she deleted the video to try and protect him. So she has that very kind of loyal side chick ethic to her. So she's going up in my estimation.
Like the one in the street where they tried to get that wee old guy, him and fucking kid, my brother
Yeah.
Spike McGallagher.
But Billy was like, text her, hey mate, with an M and an 8. Delete them video. I'm in trouble. And she deleted it straight away like a real loyal side chick. So yeah, shouts to MJP for that one.
That's a good girl.
Loyal side piece.
Yeah, Ben's nominating her. I think Fury was trolling her. Right, there we go. So congratulations to Deontay Wilder. Thanks to everybody who's been on tonight. Rapping Rob Kelly. We also had Andy Patterson. We had Dave the Hater Lowback. Adam Smido Smith was on, and Gabe left us as well. Thanks to Nina Bradley for jumping on. Good luck to her in the future. I've been Steve Wellings. Thank you, everyone in the chat. We'll speak to you all. That's when smoking was still permitted in public places. You jug-eared, roid rage-ridden buffoon. Be gone back with the Morlocks. There you go. Speak to you all next week. Bye.